Chapter 21-28. The second floor's record was broken again. Inside the trial tower, Xiaochen felt somewhat excited. Honestly speaking, he did not have much hope of breaking the second floor's record. As long as he did his best, he would try. Unexpectedly, he managed to break it again in the end. This was a pleasant surprise. Trial taker Xiaochen, congratulations on breaking the trial tower's second floor's record again. This is truly a cause for celebration. It has been a long time since someone broke 2 records in one day in the faux god world. The little light figure appeared and smiled faintly, giving Xiaochen a reward. Xiaochen opened the booth. Including the hidden reward, there was a total of 5,000 faux god coins. This was much less than the first floor's record. After all, the first floor's record remained unbroken for 1,000 years. However, the second floor's record was broken 100 years ago. Do I still have any special privileges this time? Xiaochen was rather looking forward to this. Choosing the snowy plains as the venue was crucial for him to break another record on the second floor. Naturally, there is. Those who obtain the hidden reward will have one special privilege. Come with me to the third floor. Light and shadow flashed, and the item spirit brought Xiaochen to the trial tower's third floor. The environment of the third floor was different from the first 2 floors. It was completely empty. Hundreds of statues appeared in the empty space. Each statue looked very heroic and majestic, each with its own grace. They looked very lively and dignified. These statues are all strands of faux god flame left behind by faux god experts. Be it their intelligence or states, they are several times stronger than the combat puppets. When ordinary people come in to challenge, they will choose a statue at random. You can observe and choose freely. The little light figure introduced the statue's origins to Xiaochen. The trial tower's third floor was a hurdle. Aside from the 4 heaven-defying sovereign personages, no one in the Heavenly Alliance could clear the third floor. It looked like there was a reason for this. This time, can I choose freely where I want to fight? Xiaochen asked the little light figure. After confirming this, it would be better for him to choose his opponent. Yes. The little light figure nodded to indicate that there was no problem. In that case, things would be much easier. Xiaochen looked at the hundreds of statues and felt somewhat dazzled. After some thought, he said, Lord Item Spirit, please help me eliminate all the statues that are not bladesmen. If Xiaochen was not a bladesman, there was no point in challenging him. As for the trial tower, other than the rewards, it also focused on the word trial. The first 2 stages were not very helpful to Xiaochen. He had already comprehended some of the experience the black and white eggs wanted to impart. This was a rare opportunity for the third stage. Naturally, he had to fight with a bladesman. As you wish. With a wave of the little light figure's hand, more than half of the hundreds of statues disappeared, leaving only a few dozen statues. There were still quite a lot of them. Xiaochen said after some thought, help me eliminate the bladesmen good at the Thunder Dao and the Ice Dao. If one ran into these 2 kinds of statues, it was practically impossible to fight. Many cultivators with passable strength could only blame their bad luck if they ran into a statue of the same great Dao as them. After another round of elimination, only a dozen or so statues were left. Shimu, you seem to be one of these statues. In the palace, the eyes of the old man across Shimu lit up as he smiled softly. Shimu nodded and said, indeed, I'm one of them. However, if he still wants to break the record, he probably will not choose me. As Shimu spoke, he showed absolute confidence. His statue was definitely the strongest of the remaining statues. He did not believe that Xiaochen could not tell. Who knew, right after Shimu spoke, Xiaochen, who was in the trial tower, seemed to sense something and made his choice. This senior it is. It was fiendish saber Shimu. Inside the palace, Shimu and the old man across from him saw everything clearly, immediately stunned. After a while, the old man across Shimu guffawed and said, ha ha ha. It looks like I really can't be too firm with my words. fiendish saber Shimu could tell that Shimu was very ambitious, only submitting to one person in his life. Xiao Chen's choice caught Shimu off guard, making him feel somewhat embarrassed. Shimu said seriously, to think that he really chose me. I want to see how you are going to clear the third stage. Inside the trial tower, the little light figure was also somewhat surprised at Xiao Chen's choice. After some thought, it said, "This is Senior Shimu. Among the hundreds of statues, his strength ranks within the top 10. Since the trial tower opened, none of the people who chose him managed to clear it on their first try. Even after challenging him many times, only 3 people managed to clear it. Is that so?" When Xiao Chen heard that, he said, "He is stronger than I imagined. Let me break this record, then." Although Xiao Chen said that, in reality, he was already very open about the record. With one glance, Xiao Chen could tell that foe god Shimu was the strongest of the remaining statues. The fighting spirit in his heart instantly blazed. The instant Xiao Chen met the statue's eyes, it felt like they were connected. His saber intent surged involuntarily. The tyrant saber in Xiao Chen's hand trembled slightly, raring to go. He could not help wanting to draw it from the scabbard. When Xiao Chen felt the tyrant saber's fighting spirit, he thought for a while before letting this fighting spirit surge in his heart. The strongest is the strongest. It does not matter whether I break the record or not. The opportunity to exchange moves with this senior is something that I can only hope for. Are you sure? If you are sure, not only will the record be hard to break, but you might even be defeated on the 3rd floor. Of course, with such a high hidden difficulty, the reward you will obtain will be even higher. However, many super faction members have gathered outside. They all came after hearing the news. If you break 2 stages in a row and lose on the 3rd, your previous reputation will be ruined. Xiao Chen said calmly, "When have I ever cared about the cold eyes of others? I just follow my heart." What a fellow. I'm starting to like him. The originally unhappy Shimu revealed a smile on his aged face when he heard that. The other party mocked, "Smile. Let's see if you can still smile when he tramples on you to break the record. Liking me is one thing, but you are overthinking if you want to defeat me on your first try." This touched his bottom line. Foe god Shimu withdrew his smile and showed a serious expression. The little light figure in the trial tower looked at Xiao Chen and said, "As you wish, then. Where do you choose to fight?" "Thunder Marsh." Whoosh! Light and shadow changed. When Xiao Chen's vision recovered, he was already in a thunder marsh. The sky was dark, and thunderclouds covered it. Thousands of bolts of lightning spread out like ferocious venomous snakes. Everything within thousands of miles was a black swamp, and the heavens and the earth were filled with dense lightning-attributed spiritual energy. Since Xiao Chen grasped the Thunder Great Tao, the place he chose had the advantage of the terrain. This made it more convenient for him to succeed in his challenge. Whoosh! A statue descended from the sky and landed in front of Xiao Chen. When the statue appeared, it turned into a human, looking like it came to life. The foe god Shimu that appeared before Xiao Chen looked like when he was young. He wore loose white robes and looked delicate and handsome. His long hair fluttered as he looked at Xiao Chen, his lips curling up in a smile. Fiend! When the other party smiled, his aura immediately changed. The impression he gave Xiao Chen was one word, fiend. Becoming a fiend with a smile. Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. He immediately felt that something was wrong. Ever since the trial tower was built, no one had succeeded on their first try. It looked like this was not without reason. Let me take a look. To think that you got a Thunder Marsh. Your luck is pretty good, the younger Shimu said softly as he looked around. The statue had a trace of Shimu's divine flame and could think for itself, similar to the black and white eggs. However, the Shimu outside could not control it. Aside from that trace of divine flame, there was not much of a connection between the two. However, my saber techniques have nothing to do with the environment. Choosing me is fated to be your misfortune. Take this. The statue's temper was similar to Shimu's, proud and confident. Right after it spoke, it instantly drew its saber. The moment it drew its saber, a beautiful flower bloomed, bursting out with a resplendent saber light. At this instant, Xiaochen looked around and found himself in a vast sea of flowers. The environment had changed drastically. An illusion? Or a mysterious phenomenon? Or is it purely the other party's saber Dao? Xiaochen could not understand what was going on. He only calmly looked at Shimu, who was leaping around like a saucer in the sea of flowers, charging at him. However, just as the other party was about to charge over, Shimu's figure turned blurry in Xiaochen's eyes. Many afterimages appeared. Strange. Since the trial tower was built, Shimu had only been defeated by 3 people after many challenges. Before he truly made a move, he already forced Xiaochen into a passive position. However, the people outside knew nothing about this. Seeing Xiaochen break 2 records in a row, several people felt excited. They wondered if Xiaochen could break the record on the 3rd floor as well. If he broke 3 records in a row, he would truly be making history. With the strength that Xiaochen displayed and the momentum of breaking 2 records in a row, no one thought that he might fall in the 3rd floor. Chapter 21-29. Fiendish Saber Shimu. A horrifying opponent with a hazy figure appeared, both real and illusory. It was hard to distinguish the real from the fake in the sea of flowers. This was the first time Xiaochen met such a strange opponent. He did not attack rashly, calmly retreating. Whoosh! As Xiaochen retreated, he could not dodge in time. The other party's saber cut a thin wound on his right chest. Fortunately, it was just a superficial wound, not a major problem. The other party has blurred my senses, preventing me from determining the trajectory of his saber. Xiaochen looked at the wound and thought to himself. Then, he could not help showing an even more cautious expression. Shimu held up his saber and continued charging over. Xiaochen executed his flawless saber Dao. As Xiaochen retreated, his figure moved. Saber light flickered, and his movements were graceful like a dance. Since Shimu could not determine the trajectory, he used his body as a saber, his clothes as a saber, and his hair as a saber. Every move flickered with saber light. Dang! 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 Shimu's figure remained hazy. Every time he swung his saber, it was like a flower blooming. As the saber light danced, 1,000 flowers bloomed, creating many illusions. However, no matter how Shimu moved, Xiaochen used his body as a saber and his thoughts as a saber. His entire body shone with resplendent saber light. As Shimu moved, his defense was airtight. Xiaochen could not determine the other party's trajectory, but Shimu could not charge in either. The two immediately entered a stalemate. Up in the palace in the sky, Shimu's true body and the old man opposite him focused on this battle. Shimu, how strong is this statue? After some thought, Shimu replied, this statue was forged in the image of me when I was young. His cultivation and experience stopped at 200 years old. He does not have much of an advantage. However, I did not expect him to last for so long. Back in the trial tower, although Xiaochen had fallen into Shimu's strange domain, he did not fall into a disadvantage. He managed to stabilize his offense. The old man opposite Shimu smiled and said, this does not look good. You were not a match for him when you were 200 years old. His saber Dao happens to counter your saber Dao. You are getting careless this time. Humph. It's not over yet. Although this was the truth, Shimu felt somewhat unconvinced. He snorted and did not argue with his old friend. He's going to counterattack. The eyes of the other old man lit up. He saw Xiaochen, who was in the trial tower, swiftly thrust his tyrant saber forward. In an instant, thousands of saber rays shot toward the statue like rays of light. Kacha kacha. With a crisp sound, the flowers shattered and turned into petals that drifted with the wind. You won't be able to defeat me just by relying on these illusions. Break. Xiaochen snorted coldly and spread out his Thunder Dao domain. Thousands of lightning bolts appeared in the sky. When the thunder saber domain was brought to its peak, Xiaoqin stepped forward and thrust his saber again. Boom! In an instant, the sea of flowers disappeared, and the vast expanse of lightning reappeared. The great Tao was perfectly compatible with the surrounding environment, borrowing power from each other. The might of Xiaoqian's thunder Tao domain became even more ferocious. Xiaoqian's aura flourished, and he showed no mercy. He attacked with the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber techniques, breaking the mundane. Thump! The statue's heart skipped a beat, and its thoughts wandered. The mundane events of the past appeared in its mind. By the time the statue startled to its senses, Xiaoqian's saber light was already before it. CI. The tyrant's saber stabbed in, and the other party's physical body shattered, turning into countless shards like a mirror. The illusion shattered, and Shimu appeared behind the statue. A wound appeared on his right shoulder, and blood spurted out. Shimu had been too slow in dodging the earlier move. It was like a lotus flower not absorbing water, or like the sun and moon not remaining in the sky. Resolving the mundane, the Buddhist sect's 7-kill seal. When Xiaoqin executed the overwhelming attack, it flowed smoothly like flowing water. He controlled it as he pleased. The other party had just stabilized himself when an eternal and inextinguishable saber light swept over with the sevenfold killing chi. Bang! 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 When resolving the mundane swept across the vast expanse of lightning, countless cracks appeared in the ground, which quickly sank. The ground under the statue looked like it was hollow, continuously sinking. Pu ci. The statue vomited a mouthful of blood. It simply found this saber light somewhat hard to block, forcing it to retreat continuously. Old friend, you are probably really going to lose. The old man across Shimu felt slightly shocked. He said in shock, the Buddhist sect's forbidden technique, the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique, is truly horrifying. His fortuitous encounters are much better than yours when you were 200 years old. The more problematic thing is that his saber Dao happens to counter your flower domain. Shimu said calmly, you are overthinking. Since the trial tower was established, this statue of mine has never been defeated by anyone. How can it not have some trump cards? Just watch slowly. The show is just beginning. It looked like the boundless saber light would swallow up the statue Shimu in the vast expanse of lightning. Then, he suddenly shouted. What is a fiend? The statue Shimu pointed his saber at the sky. The tall mountain behind him in the vast expanse of lightning seemed to come to life. The statue Shimu's aura surged. Then, he hacked at the saber light materialized by the sevenfold killing chi. At this moment, the tall mountain in the lightning lake turned into a saber light and attached to his saber. Dang! As the saber lights clashed, a terrifying sound rang out. Compared to this, the thunder in the sky was like the buzzing of mosquitoes. What is a fiend? The saber light filled the sky. Amid the chaos, the statue Shimu turned into a beam of light and leaped out. Cracks appeared on his face. Clearly, he was already a spent force. As this saber light danced, the tall mountains, rivers, lakes, and swamps around Xiaoqin all came to life. As they wriggled, they turned into hundreds of saber lights of different styles, surrounding Xiaoqin. Every strand of saber light seemed to have a life of its own, each one a lunatic, boundlessly outstanding. The vastness of the tall mountains, the surging of the rivers, the silence of the lakes, every strand of saber light was different. Shock appeared in Xiaoqian's eyes. What kind of saber technique is this? I have never seen or heard of it before. When the other party executed it, it seemed somewhat crude, like he was barely able to execute it. But even so, he was already ridiculously strong, causing others to feel despair. No wonder. No wonder no one could defeat the statue Shimu in one move. Facing such a killer move for the first time, who could resist it? If it was a month ago, Xiaoqin would have been defeated. As for now, the Buddha was in the human world and could fight with him. Mahamaya abstinence violation art. Without much time to think, Xiaoqian executed the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber techniques in the mortal realm. The supreme killing Buddha descended into the mortal realm and calmed the seas and the surroundings. In the middle of Xiaoqian's brows, the swastika Buddhist seal shone brightly. In the next moment, the light directly condensed into a huge unparalleled killing Buddha. Dang! The supreme killing Buddha appeared with an expressionless face. With a push of his palms, the hundreds of saber lights stopped in midair, unable to move forward. Then, with a bang, they were all annihilated. The Buddha in the human world, calming the seas and the wastelands. After choosing Buddha in the mortal realm, this move became the strongest defensive move of the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique. Kacha! When this move broke, the twilight statue, which was already a spent force, shattered before Xiaoqian. Trial taker Xiaoqian, congratulations on successfully breaking through the highest difficulty of the third floor. You are the first cultivator in the trial tower's history to defeat fiendish saber Shimu in one go. This time, the honor steel did not give off light. He did not break the record of the third floor. Fiendish saber Shimu, inside the trial tower, Xiaoqian remained silent. It turned out that this senior was called Shimu. I wonder if he perfected his saber Dao. If he perfected it, I really want to see it for myself. This is your reward. 5,000 faux god coins. Similarly, you obtained another privilege. Xiaoqian put away the faux god coins and said after some thought, I'll keep the privilege for now. What's wrong? You do not intend to continue the challenge? Xiaoqian shook his head and said, there's no need. I exhausted myself too much in the earlier battle. Furthermore, I already gained a lot on this floor. There is no need to keep clinging to it. Right. There will be plenty of time in the future. I'll send you out. A light flashed, and Xiaoqian was sent out. He was startled when he saw so many people. Initially, there were only 100-odd Heavenly Alliance members outside the trial tower. Now, there were close to several hundred people. Xiaoqian came out. How young. Why did he come out when he was only on the third floor? How strange. He took the initiative to leave after clearing the third floor. How strong is this person? All sorts of discussions arose. Xiaoqian showed a calm expression, ignoring them as he walked over to Ao Jiao. Chapter 2130. Strange. He broke 2 records in a row, but he stopped at the third floor and did not continue. Did he run out of stamina? He should have special privileges for breaking the record. The privileges should allow him to rest. Given that, he might have used trickery to break the records of the first 2 floors. The one we need to pay more attention to in the Heavenly Alliance is still Lin Feng. He broke through 8 floors on his first attempt and killed his way to the 9th floor. This is true strength. That's right. Compared to records, the faux god experts are more interested in true strength and accumulations. That's why Lin Feng attracted 4 faux gods to descend at the same time. That's right. If he really had strength, faux gods would have appeared. Breaking 2 floors in a row would have attracted the attention of faux gods long ago. Since no faux gods came, it means that he is just a show. Faux gods have better eyes than us. Many of the super faction disciples who heard the news and rushed over to the trial tower to observe showed surprised expressions. They were still hoping that Xiaoqian could break another record. Who could have imagined that Xiaoqian would withdraw? However, Xiaoqian did not care about this. He returned to the crowd and met up with Ao Jiao. Sorry, brother Wu Meng. You lost. Wu Meng and Mo, you made a bet on whether Xiaoqian could make it to the 6th floor or not. The result was already out. In the end, Xiaoqian did not reach the 6th floor. However, breaking 2 records in a row had already made Wu Meng and Mo forget about this bet. A bet of 100 faux god coins was not worth mentioning compared to the reward for breaking the record. Wu Meng recovered his wits and said, Ha! Little brother Xiaoqian must be joking. I even forgot about this bet. Oh, right, little brother Xiaoqian, why did you stop making your breakthrough? Xiao Chen answered honestly, I exhausted myself too much and accidentally activated the highest difficulty of the third floor. My soul energy, veritable essence energy, and mind are all somewhat fatigued. If I continued, I would likely fail. The highest difficulty. Wu Meng and Mou exclaimed softly. As they looked at Xiao Chen, they felt incredibly shocked. To think that Xiao Chen cleared the highest difficulty. This was simply inconceivable. This was his first time trying. We are ashamed of our inferiority. The two smiled bitterly, cupped their fists and bade farewell, saying that they would meet again another day. Seeing the two go far away, Ao Jiao smiled and said, Congratulations. Come, I'll bring you to the 10,000 treasure pavilion. As long as you have faux god coins, you can exchange for any resource in the 10,000 treasure pavilion. Alright, let's go. He had a huge sum of money in his hands, so of course he had to spend it quickly and exchange it for resources to increase his strength. The two of them left, but the rest of the people in the Tower of Trials did not disperse. They had been influenced by Xiao Chen's 2 consecutive records. Many people felt that today was a good day. It was necessary for them to try and break the record. In a certain faux god palace in the sky, Shimu's aged expression was somewhat unsightly. He showed a sullen expression and did not say a word. The old man in front of him knew his nature. He was a loner, had few friends, and was proud and arrogant. His temper could be said to be strange. However, he was extremely strong and proud of his saber Dao. The defeat of his statue in the trial tower was clearly too much for him to bear. Don't overthink. Everyone's statues in the trial tower are there for these juniors to trample on. My statue was defeated more than 1,000 years ago. Furthermore, it only represents our previous strength. It is not much. Shimu interrupted the old man halfway through his consoling words. I will not be bothered by such trivial matters. Earlier, 4 or 5 faux gods sent voice projections to me, asking if I would accept Xiao Chen. The old man's eyes lit up as he immediately understood. Xiao Chen's potential had clearly attracted the attention of some faux gods' bladesmen. Although they were tempted, the statue that Xiao Chen defeated was Shimu's statue. If they wanted to accept Xiao Chen, they had to ask Shimu first. What did you say? I told them not to target Xiao Chen. They are just a bunch of mediocre people, misleading others. Although they were all faux gods, Shimu did not stand on ceremony when commenting on others. In that case, it looks like you intend to personally accept Xiao Chen. How? I already lost to him. How am I going to face him with my old face? Fiendish saber, Shimu said irritably. Clearly, he felt very upset and depressed. Ha ha ha. So, that's the case. I was wondering why you were so conflicted. What do you intend to do, then? You are not letting others teach him, and you are not teaching him either. That is not good, the grey-clad old man said with a smile. I'll do what I have to do. Fiendish saber, Shimu said something that made no sense. Then, he took his leave, leaving the grey-clad old man alone. This old friend of mine will die because of his temper sooner or later, the grey-clad old man said with a smile. Then, he shook his head and sighed softly. If Xiao Chen knew that this was the reason why no faux god appeared, what would he think? At this moment, Xiao Chen and Ao Jiao had already arrived at the 10,000 treasure palace. The grand and majestic 10,000 treasure palace had a total of 2 floors. There were many startling treasures, rare spirit herbs, cultivation techniques, secret manuals, profound weapons, all sorts of divine materials, and all sorts of wondrous items. Every treasure was labeled with the corresponding faux god coins. Xiao Chen and Ao Jiao could only exchange for them on the first floor. They could not go up to the second or third floors. Divine Firmament 9 changes, a lightning-attributed movement technique from the peak of the ancient martial epoch. It has been passed down for a long time. Xiao Chen's gaze stopped on a brown metal plate. This was an ancient movement technique created by an expert at the peak of the martial epoch. Although it was incomplete, it still held a great attraction to Xiao Chen. How expensive. This movement technique costs a total of 5,000 faux god coins. After Ao Jiao saw it, she said softly, furthermore, it is incomplete. It might not be very useful. Wait, I nearly forgot. You already broke the records on 2 floors. You do not lack faux god coins. Xiaoqin nodded and said, it is rare to come across a high-ranked movement technique that is compatible with me. Even if it is not worth it, it does not matter. After placing sufficient faux god coins under the pillar, the restriction automatically unraveled. Then, Xiaoqin took away the metal plate. Since there was an ancient movement technique like the Divine Firmament 9 Changes, would there be other incomplete manuals of the Mahamaya Abstinence Violation Saber technique? Xiaoqin went to the exchange counter and asked the woman behind to see if he could make an exchange. Sorry, the 10,000 Treasure Palace does not have the incomplete manuals of the Mahamaya Abstinence Violation Saber technique. Even if there were, we would not be able to trade it with you. Why? The Hidden Spirit Temple has been searching for this saber technique. This is a Buddhist sect forbidden technique, so we cannot trade it with you. When Xiaoqin heard that, he could not help feeling slightly startled. He had forgotten about this matter. All right. In that case, help me make the exchange. 5,000 faux god coins worth of origin liquid. Also, please give me a list of how many extreme yin and extreme yang flames there are. Also, help me look for an ancient saber technique. Sure. Please wait a moment. On the first day, Xiaoqin obtained close to 20,000 faux god coins. He did not feel any heartache as he spent them, flabbergasting Ao Jiao at the side. When the two left, Xiaoqin had only 1,000 faux god coins left. You exchanged for a lot of origin liquid. Are you going to enter closed-door cultivation to raise your cultivation? Origin liquid was the pure spiritual liquid produced by Spirit Jade Origins. It was rare and valuable. Even sovereign emperors used it to cultivate. No matter how much they used it, there would not be any side effects. When Xiaoqin first entered the Heavenly Alliance, he obtained some origin liquid as a reward. However, he had not used it yet. Xiaoqin nodded and said, my cultivation is still somewhat low. As long as I have enough origin liquid in the faux god world, I will advance rapidly when I cultivate. Right now, Xiaoqin was only a small perfection sovereign personage. Compared to the others in the faux god world, his cultivation was too weak. I'm afraid that I will have to leave the faux god world by the time you come out of closed-door cultivation. Ao Jiao noticed that Xiaoqin had prepared a lot of resources, 1,500 kilograms of origin liquid. He also needed to comprehend the Divine Firmament 9 Transformations movement technique. He would need at least a year and a half to use them all. After some thought, Xiaoqin said, it's fine. When I leave the faux god world, I will definitely go to the Golden Crow Empire to see you. You just need to wait for me for 1 year outside. Ao Jiao smiled and said, in that case, I'll wait for you. Don't go back on your word. It's a deal, then. Xiaoqin also felt that it was unfortunate. They had just met. Before they could say anything, they would have to part again. However, time was precious in the faux god world. The geniuses and outstanding talents of the various super factions gathered here. If Xiaoqin did not work hard, it would be too late to regret it after he left the faux god world. After saying goodbye to Ao Jiao, Xiaoqin returned to his courtyard. However, he discovered a middle-aged man waiting at the entrance. Xiaoqin could not help feeling suspicious. This middle-aged man had a saber intent flowing around his body. He was a sovereign emperor and had extraordinary looks, looking rather handsome. The strange thing was this middle-aged man's cultivation. It was not strange to see faux gods or sovereign personages in the faux god world. However, it was strange to see a sovereign emperor. You are? Xiaoqin asked out of curiosity as he stepped forward. Young Master Xiao, this humble one is Lu Benwei. I have been waiting here on Master Shimu's orders. When Xiaoqin heard that, his eyes could not help lighting up. Shimu. Chapter 2131. So, it is Senior Shimu's brilliant disciple. This way, please. Not really. I'm just an in-name disciple. Hearing the other party's declaration, Xiaoqin did not dare to be negligent. Lu Benwei clasped his fist and entered the courtyard. After sitting down, Xiaoqin asked, "Why are you looking for me?" Lu Benwei took out a painting and handed it to Xiaoqin. "Master gave this to young Master Xiao." Xiaoqin wanted to unfurl the painting and take a look. However, Lu Benwei stopped him and said, "Master said that young Master Xiao can look at it only after I leave." Strange, Xiaoqin muttered in his heart, but he did not insist. "In that case, I will take my leave first. I will not disturb young Master Xiao any longer." Wait a moment. In the faux god world, you are either a faux god or a disciple of a super faction like me. How can you still stay in the Holy Domain's divine capital? Lu Benwei smiled and said, "Sovereign emperors can enter as well, as long as they pay a small price. As for me, Master has already helped me obtain a permanent identity in the Holy Domain's divine capital. I can enter the faux god world freely. However, even Master can't get a permanent identity. It's rare to see someone like me in the divine capital. Oh, I'll walk you out." "You're welcome." Xiaoqin stood up and sent the other party out of the door. Then, he held the scroll in his hand and fell into deep thought. After Xiaoqin defeated the other party's statue in the trial tower, Shimu's true body gave him a painting when he returned. What does that mean? If he had taken a liking to me, why didn't he show himself and accept me as his disciple? Xiaoqin was very happy to have a faux god give him pointers and take him in as a disciple. Not only was he happy, but it was also a kind of desire. Having guidance from a faux god realm expert and not having guidance from a faux god realm expert were two completely different situations. With some doubts, Xiaoqin unfurled the painting. He saw a lake on the painting. Outside the lake were vast mountains, and the lake was dark green and serene. Green mountains, blue waters, white clouds, wild cranes flying in the sky, it was a typical landscape painting. The painting was exquisite, with verdant hills and clear waters, and a profound artistic conception that could draw one's imagination. But that was all. The painting shaft, the paper, the ink, and the paint were all ordinary. There was nothing special about it. Strange. For a disciple to give me a painting for no good reason, and not come to see me, and not say anything else, just what does this senior want? Xiaoqin looked at it for a long time, but he couldn't figure out its true meaning. He could only shake his head helplessly and put it away. I shouldn't delay matters for now. 1,500 kilograms of origin liquid is enough for me to stabilize my cultivation base and perhaps even advance further. Sighing softly, Xiaoqin entered the secret chamber and began to cultivate. In Shimu's palace, Lu Benwei reported respectfully, "Master, I have already sent the painting out." I did not say anything else. All right, I'll give him the second painting a year later. If he can't understand it, don't blame me for ruining your future. Shimu felt somewhat bad for stopping the other faux god bladesmen. However, he could not lower his pride to meet Xiaoqin. Therefore, she directed such a play. Unfortunately, Xiaoqin really couldn't see anything. Lu Benwei thought to himself, Master's temper is really unfathomable. That landscape painting took Xiaoqin 10 years to comprehend some of its true meaning. Master even gave some pointers from the side. Giving someone a painting for no reason was probably something Xiaoqin could not figure out, even if he racked his brains. If Xiaoqin lost himself in it and ended up wasting time, he would really be ruining his future. Of course, Xiaoqin could only say this in his heart. His master had always been like this. Shimu looked indifferently at Lu Benwei. After some thought, he said, "Master knows what you are thinking. Naturally, I have my reasons for doing this. Remember, don't meet him in private. Don't say too much. You may leave." Lu Benwei nodded and took his leave. However, he could not figure out what Shimu was thinking. Seeing Lu Benwei leave, a crafty look flashed in Shimu's eyes. He smiled and said, I already understood half of this painting when I was 200 years old. If you still don't understand, you're not as good as me." It turned out that Shimu was still unconvinced and wanted to compete with Xiao Chen. Many years later, when Xiao Chen understood this, he would smile bitterly. Had he known about the other party's temper, he would have shown an opening and lost. Then, he would not have needed to go through so much trouble to learn the fiendish saber's true meaning. Golden Dragon Bloodline Ancestor Palace, Divine Dragon Empire, Central Great Realm, a person wearing golden dragon robes sat on a high throne. His face looked like it was chiseled with a knife, showing distinct features. This was the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor, the person with the highest authority in the Divine Dragon Empire. "Your Majesty, we have already obtained conclusive news. Xiao Chen has indeed entered the Heavenly Alliance. Now, he has appeared in the Faux God world and is undergoing 10 years of bitter cultivation. The news just came that he broke the records of the Trial Tower's first and second floors. This is very shocking. However, no Faux God expert took him in as a disciple?" Someone below asked respectfully as he knelt on the ground. The Purple Gold Dragon Emperor's expression did not change when he heard that. He said indifferently, "It is strange that no Faux God took him in as a disciple despite his potential. If there are no surprises, he will definitely become a sovereign emperor 10 years later. What do you think we should do?" "He should be killed," the person below said sullenly, appearing somewhat nervous. "However, he is in the Faux God world. How am I to make a move? This subordinate naturally has a way. After we succeed, we will not cause any trouble for your Majesty." The Purple Gold Dragon Emperor said after some thought, "I did not kill him, nor did I give the order to kill him." "How is there any trouble?" The expression of the person below changed slightly. His lips twitched as he nodded and said, "This subordinate understands." "Withdraw, then." "Yes." After everyone left, the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor was the only one left in the empty hall. The Purple Gold Dragon Emperor held a high position, controlling the life and death of the Divine Dragon Empire. However, no one knew about him. The Purple Gold Dragon Emperor muttered to himself, "Jiang Shan, your good inheritor really helped you gain some pride. However, my Golden Dragon bloodline absolutely will not end in my hands. No one can stop me." A cold look flashed in the Purple Gold Dragon Emperor's eyes, and the entire hall suddenly froze. As the cold chi spread out, the dazzling golden dragon pillars turned into ice pillars. Of course, those cultivating in the Faux God world would not know that even though they were in the Faux God world, they could not escape the attention of some people. Xiao Chen was not in the mood to think about this. 1,500 kilograms of origin liquid required him to enter closed-door cultivation for 1 year. 1 year passed in the blink of an eye. During this period, aside from Ao Jiao's one visit, Xiao Chen remained in his secret room. With 1,500 kilograms of origin liquid and the aid of his blue dragon divine body, Xiao Chen's cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds. He was only half a step away from peak sovereign personage. Once he reached the bottleneck, he could no longer rely on resources to advance. He needed some fortuitous encounters and could not break through just by entering closed-door cultivation. After running out of origin liquid, Xiao Chen started to practice the ancient divine firmament 9 transformations. Occasionally, he would go to the library to read books. During this period, Mu Yunzhu sought out Xiao Chen once, wanting to fight him. However, Xiao Chen rejected him. Aside from this, Xiao Chen's life had been as calm as still water for the past 1 year or so. His days had not been particularly eventful. However, the Faux God world was extraordinarily bustling. The fights between the various super factions were also very exciting. People continuously broke records in the Trial Tower, charging to higher levels. However, all this did not have much to do with Xiao Chen. He took his time, advancing step by step according to his plan. Although Xiao Chen did not move quickly, his footsteps were very steady. His strength advanced steadily, leaving a deep footprint with each step. It turns out that there are so many differences in strength in the sovereign personage realm. Inside the library, Xiao Chen put down a book and entered deep thought. After reaching peak sovereign personage, most people's cultivation would get stuck, either for 1,000 years or 100 years. The talented people might even be stuck for decades. This was normal. Sovereign personage was the limit of humans. Once one broke through, one would start cultivating the soul. After crossing this step, one would be separated from the divine. The difference was like a chasm, easily determined. Hence, there were strong and weak peak sovereign personages. The closer one was to a divine vein realm sovereign emperor, the stronger one would be. Peak sovereign personages normally had 3 grades. The first was heaven-defying sovereign personage. For example, the Heavenly Alliance's Gongzi Lan, Mou, Wu Meng, and the others. These people were clearly much stronger than other peak sovereign personages. These people could be called heaven-defying sovereign personages. Half-step sovereign emperor was only half a step away from divine vein realm's sovereign emperor. The most obvious sign was the merging of the Tao domain and soul energy, forming a divine seal in the soul pool. For example, the profound Heaven Holy Land's Mu Yunzhu was at this level. When he first met Shao Chen, he only said one sentence. Mu Yunzhu's voice containing the Tao entered deep into Shao Chen's soul, echoing endlessly. This was because he had formed a divine seal. Finally, there were false sovereign emperors. In reality, false sovereign emperors had already surpassed the sovereign personage realm. They could even turn their veritable essence energy into divine energy. However, they could not open their divine veins and were not true divine vein realm sovereign emperors. They were called false emperors. At this level, one could be said to be unrivaled among sovereign personages. Unless a sovereign emperor appeared, practically no one could defeat them. In the Holy Domain's divine capital, the 4 super factions, the Universe Origin Sect, Bushan Palace, the Profound Heaven Holy Land, and the Hidden Spirit Temple, all had geniuses who reached this level. The more Shao Chen understood, the clearer and more aware he became when he was in the faux god world. Right now, he was only a peak great perfection sovereign personage, not even reaching consummation sovereign personage. He needed to work harder. With my current strength, I can be considered a heaven-defying sovereign personage. However, if I run into a half-step sovereign emperor like Mu Yunzhu, my chances of victory are only 50%. It will be very difficult for me to defeat a false emperor. I have to break through as soon as possible. Shao Chen entered deep thought. The 3,000 drops of origin liquid allowed his cultivation to advance rapidly. He could break through to consummation sovereign personage at any time. However, he lacked a fortuitous encounter. He needed a true battle. Perhaps I should leave the city to hunt faux beasts. Chapter 2132. Faux beasts were creatures unique to the faux god world, born from the primal chaos and nothingness. They took many forms and possessed horrifying strength. Even faux god experts would have to avoid a few strong faux beasts. In the entire faux god world, aside from the Holy Domain's divine capital, there were many shattered continents with all sorts of faux beasts. Faux beasts were not truly life forms. They could not survive outside of the faux god world. After they died, they would return to the depths of the faux god world and revive after a long time. Shao Chen did not know much about faux beasts. However, Qiu Yun Fei, and Nangong Feng had gone out several times to hunt them. Shao Chen took out the Heavenly Alliance medallion and communicated with them. The 3 remained in the Holy Domain's divine capital and did not go out. So, they agreed to meet at Shao Chen's courtyard 1 hour later. Shao Chen, ha! You finally can't sit still anymore and want to go out? The 3 arrived on time. When they heard Shao Chen ask about faux beasts, they laughed softly. The 4 were all Heavenly Alliance people. Furthermore, they came to the faux god world together, so they had a good relationship with each other. Over the past year or so, the 3 had come to visit Shao Chen several times. They found it strange. Why did Shao Chen fall silent after breaking the record for the first 2 floors? Why did everyone forget his name in the past year or so? On the other hand, Wu Meng, Mou, and Gongzi Lan's strength soared, continuously climbing in the trial tower. Among them, Wu Meng had broken the record for the 18th floor. Back when Xiaochen broke the record, many people said that he did not clear the 3rd floor due to some trickery. Now, Xiaochen's silence verified the other's words. However, Nangong Feng and the other two knew Xiaochen very well. Over the past year or so, Xiaochen's strength was no longer something the three could handle. Even when the three worked together, Xiaochen would find it somewhat difficult to deal with. However, Xiaochen did not come out. He was either in closed-door cultivation or cultivating, ignoring the fights between the super factions. His cultivation has already reached a bottleneck. If he does not experience some battles, he will find it hard to break through, Xiaochen said softly. Yunfei said, in the past year or so, the three of us went out to hunt foe beasts. Even if foe beasts are of the same cultivation realm, they cannot be underestimated. Many disciples of the various super factions have died at the hands of foe beasts. I'll die. When Xiaochen heard that, he felt slightly shocked. The disciples of the various super factions. Those who could enter the Heavenly Alliance were all talented. They all had life-saving secret treasures. It was just like how the Heavenly Alliance prepared a set of alloy battle armor for everyone at all costs. The other super factions, such as the Disciples of the Universe Origin sect, all had a Heavenly Flame medallion that could summon the Universe Origin Divine Flame at any time. They had similar trump cards. However, he still died at the hands of a foe beast. This was truly shocking. Nangong Feng said, as long as they do not go too far out of the city, their lifespans are usually fine. The foe god experts in the divine capital have already detected the strong foe beasts. Why don't I accompany you out of the city? It's good to look after each other. Qionging suggested, after foe beasts die, they leave behind primeval divine liquid. There are many benefits to absorbing it, which is very helpful to cultivation. Primeval divine liquid was also one of Xiaochen's objectives in killing foe beasts. Foe beasts were born from nothingness. After they died, they would leave behind a clump of mysterious energy known as primeval divine liquid. The density of primeval divine liquid varied according to the strength and rank of a foe god. Xiaochen shook his head and said, there's no need. If there is no danger, it would go against my original intentions. Thank you for your kind intentions. Tell me what I need to pay attention to when I encounter foe beasts and where I need to go to hunt them. All right. 4 hours later, after Xiaochen made his preparations, he left the city. In the foe god world, aside from the Holy Domain, which was a complete continent, the other places were all shattered continents. The larger ones might be as far as the Holy Domain, and the smaller ones might be less than a city. The distance between them varied as they drifted in the cloud sea. Aside from the absolute safety of the Holy Domain's divine capital, the other places in the foe god world had many different environments, making it hard to guarantee safety. At the mountain-like city gates, Xiaochen turned his head back to look. The two words, divine capital, on the city walls still inspired awe in people, not daring to look at them for too long. As Xiaochen stood at the periphery of the Holy Domain and looked forward, the entire world was gray, without much color. This place looked very primitive. Even the air felt ancient. This was the first time Xiaochen left the city after coming to the Holy Domain's divine capital for more than a year. Once again, he felt the shock brought about by this shattered world. Wind, fire, lightning, and many other Daos mixed with the air. It was like the primal chaos had yet to develop, pure and complicated, filled with contradictions. As Xiaochen breathed, he could feel all sorts of Daos at any time. It was very mystical. A primal chaos fog sea lay in front, hazy and mysterious, filled with the unknown. As this place was not too dangerous from the Holy Domain, Xiaochen occasionally saw figures moving about. Xiaochen opened a map of the foe god world and took a look. Then, he put away the map and activated the alloy battle armor. Immediately, Xiaochen looked very heroic. He wore the silver alloy battle armor, showing off his tyrannical aura. As his long hair fluttered, he gave off a sharp light. Then, he placed the tyrant saber on his back and soared into the air. Now that he was fully equipped, he could bring out his strongest strength at any time. Xiaochen did this because many super faction disciples died because they could not bring out their trump cards before they died. Maintaining the alloy battle armor drained a lot of origin liquid. However, origin liquid could be replenished at any time. Compared to his life, this bit of expenditure was nothing. Whoosh! The moment Xiaochen left the holy domain, he immediately felt astral winds blowing at him. These winds contained chaotic chaos. There were flames, ice, and all sorts of strange forces, making it somewhat difficult to block. Fortunately, Xiaochen had the alloy battle armor to protect him. The alloy battle armor, combat boots, shoulder guards, arm guards, leg guards, and other parts seemed to be one. They gave off a silver light and formed a formless barrier that blocked the astral winds. Indeed, the holy domain was protected by divine energy. After leaving the holy domain, the wild side of the faux god world was revealed. Xiaochen thought to himself as he carefully flew towards his destination. The place he wanted to go was called the Ice-Fire Wasteland. It was about 1/10 the size of the holy domain. It was considered a rather large continent. However, the environment was harsh, and faux beasts roamed about. It was a good place for experiential training. Most of the members of the various super factions came here for experiential training, hunting faux beasts. The Ice-Fire Wasteland was not too far from the holy domain, but it was not too close either. Only sovereign emperor-level faux beasts gathered there. If one ventured deep, one would end up in the depths of the faux god world. The danger there would be indescribable. Boom! Without any warning, a ferocious beast's claw suddenly appeared in the fog sea below, clawing at Xiaochen. Just this beast claw was as large as a small mountain. When it clawed, it completely obscured Xiaochen's vision. Divine Firmament 9 Variations, Traceless Lightning Shadow. Whoosh! Only a faint purple lightning mark remained where Xiaochen had been. Then, he vanished like he teleported and reappeared at the side. Xiaochen grasped the tyrant saber on his back with his right hand and instantly drew it. Then, he sent out a purple saber light. Crack! The saber light tore through the beast claw, and a blue liquid that looked like blood spurted out. Clad in the alloy battle armor, Xiaochen held up the tyrant saber as he calmly watched the beast claw vanish. The fog sea churned, undercurrents surging. Who knew what kind of danger lurked there? I'm pretty lucky. Sheathing his saber, Xiaochen took out a jade bottle and collected the blue liquid. This bottle contained primeval deep night liquid. He needed to refine it before he could extract it. After the heavenly realm shattered, the entire primal chaos space lost its stability long ago. The order of space and time fell into chaos. The area below the fog sea was an absolute forbidden zone. Even faux gods did not dare to casually enter. The faux beasts born under the fog sea possessed exceptionally horrifying strength. They were known as deep-sea faux beasts and normally would not show themselves. This was because once they showed themselves, the faux god world's experts would sense them. As long as they were not under the fog sea, faux god experts would be able to kill them easily. The primeval divine liquid that these deep-sea faux beasts left behind after they died was also a great temptation to faux gods. However, if someone like Xiaochen went out, these deep-sea faux beasts would occasionally target them and attack them. If one got caught, one would die for sure. The sky was filled with primal chaos, and the ground was a land of boundlessly shattered pieces. A wild, primitive, and ancient aura lingered in the air. After leaving the holy domain, the faux god world appeared before Xiaochen in a completely different style. 4 hours later, a huge ice continent appeared before Xiaochen. This place was clearly very cold. However, the snowflakes drifting on the ice continent were made of flames. When they landed on an ordinary person, they would instantly burn them to ashes. Xiaochen arrived at his destination, the Ice-Fire Wasteland. Chapter 2133. Ice-Fire Wasteland, snowflakes, made of flames drifted down on a desolate plain made of ice. While this looked strange, it was not strange in the faux god world. Even the sky of the primal chaos space was hazy as if the world had yet to open. There were all sorts of chaotic chaos, primeval auras, an everlasting fog sea, and tears in the sky. Aside from the holy domain's divine capital, the faux god world was an undeveloped, savage land. There were fortuitous encounters and supreme treasures. Of course, there were dangers and forbidden lands. When Xiaoqin set off, he chose to activate the alloy battle armor. Clearly, his judgment was correct. The moment Xiaoqin landed on the desolate plain, a group of faux beasts leaped out and charged at him. These faux beasts looked ferocious, like ferocious dogs. These faux beasts had flaming fur all over their bodies. Even their faces were covered in fur. These faux beasts were about half the height of a person. Their fur trailed on the ground, revealing only a pair of primal chaos and empty eyes. These faux beasts' physical bodies seemed illusory, not made of flesh and blood, looking extremely strange. Mastiffs. Xiaoqin had made ample preparations before coming, allowing him to recognize the faux beasts before him. These were mastiffs, exceptionally ferocious. These mastiffs appeared in packs. Just one of them was as strong as a peak sovereign personage. They were tyrants of the ice-fire wasteland. Even a heaven-defying sovereign personage would have to flee if they were alone. Otherwise, they would not survive at all. 10-odd mastiffs appeared and howled endlessly. When the flames rained on them, they did not cause them any harm. Instead, the flames increased their strength, making their flaming fur even brighter. When the mastiffs pounced over at the same time, they showed great ferocity. If they knocked Xiaoqin down and swarmed over, they could instantly tear the super faction disciples to shreds. Xiaoqin had the alloy battle armor. Even if the mastiffs knocked him down, it would be hard for them to tear him to pieces. However, it was best not to get surrounded. Go, then. Xiaoqin raised his left hand, and a red light flashed on his fingertip. The demon blood vulture appeared. It roared ferociously and fearlessly clashed with the 10-odd mastiffs. The demon blood vulture spread its wings. Its feathers were as bright as blood, flowing with light, looking as beautiful as scarlet flames. After traveling the faux god world with the little golden crow for half a year and obtaining some resources that Xiaoqin exchanged for, the demon blood vulture's strength soared. Now, it was a great help to Xiaoqin. On top of that, it was the king of ferocious beasts. It was born with a strong demonic nature, and its bloodline had mutated. It did not fear these mastiffs at all. It spread its wings and fought with the dozen or so mastiffs, not letting a single one escape. Xiaoqin knew that although the mastiffs were strong and their demonic might was ferocious, they would not be able to hold out for long if they were surrounded by 10-odd mastiffs. Thunder Monarch Spear. Xiaoqin beckoned with his right hand, and the 5-element divine lightning activated with his Thunder Dao domain. It condensed into a short spear that was half a meter long. In an instant, lightning flashed on the surface of the short spear. It was incomparably dazzling and emitted a boundless might of thunder. The Thunder Monarch Spear was Xiaoqian's trump card in the first place. The 5-element divine lightning was a wondrous treasure in the world. Now that his Thunder Dao's strength had improved greatly, he could drive it with his Thunder Dao domain and condense it into a spear that contained the 5-element Thunder Dao. Naturally, its might went without saying. So. The half-meter-long Thunder Monarch Spear looked solid as it shot out. Then, it split into 9, instantly striking the 9 mastiffs. Their flesh tore, but no blood flowed out. Only some primal chaos chi leaked out. Xiaoqin did not stop attacking, sending out several more Thunder Monarch Spears. The mastiffs, which already held the upper hand, immediately cried out in pain. The demon blood vulture let out a few strange laughs and immediately beat up the fallen mastiffs. Then, it spat out a mouthful of scarlet flames, and demonic chi surged into the air. The 10-odd mastiffs were forced back. Then, they charged over ferociously, appearing very resilient. When the mastiffs charged over again, they went berserk. Their bodies expanded, and they were already the size of small mountains. Xiaoqin did not care. To a heaven-defying sovereign personage, these were a pack of mastiffs that were extremely difficult to deal with. However, to Xiao Chen, they were not worth mentioning. He had his own means to deal with them. Purple flower petals spun in Xiao Chen's right eye, layering over each other and forming a purple lightning flower. Divine Lightning Eye. Whoosh! Xiao Chen's Divine Lightning Eye had already reached the 6th layer. When he executed it, 36 thunderclouds filled the sky. Boom! Tribulation lightning descended at the same time. The many mastiffs were instantly blasted into tumbling on the ground, twitching endlessly. Miserable cries rang out. These mastiffs were huge, and when they crashed into the ground, they caused many cracks and shook the desolate plain. Whoosh! 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 The demon blood vulture turned into a beam of flowing light, darting about. As its claws tore, it nearly tore the mastiffs in half. What a powerful foe beast! Xiao Chen thought to himself, with the demon blood vulture's claws, even a peak sovereign personage with a refined physical body would be torn to pieces. To think that these mastiffs are still intact, just severely injured. Indeed, one cannot use common sense to understand the bodies of foe beasts. If I get entangled, I might exhaust myself to death. After a few clashes, these mastiffs realized how powerful Xiao Chen was. They started to circle around the demon blood vulture, charging at Xiao Chen without a care for the price. However, Xiao Chen smiled coldly. If they messed around like this, they would die even faster. Xiao Chen used his movement technique and gently moved, leaving behind a purple mark. Then, he appeared elsewhere. If Xiao Chen could not dodge, he would use the sharp spirit finger. The mountain-sized mastiff was sent flying by a single finger. It was a very strange sight. Xiao Chen did not fight with these mastiffs. Instead, he used the demon blood vulture as bait and brought out his Thunder Dao domain to its limits. He executed all sorts of lightning-related means. If the mastiffs got close, he would execute the sharp spirit finger. Xiao Chen's veritable essence energy, soul energy, and vital qi filled his entire body. Then, he merged all his energy into one finger and flicked away the mastiffs. Demon blood vulture, move aside. Xiao Chen called out, and the demon blood vulture turned into a beam of scarlet light and quickly fled. Then, a great desolate Aeon candle dragon image appeared behind Xiao Chen. 2 candle flames flickered in Xiao Chen's eyes. In the next moment, boundless ice flames landed on this pack of mastiffs. After being tortured for a long time, the extremely resilient mastiffs could no longer move. The candle dragon flame burned the mastiffs' long fur, slowly burning them. Whoosh! Wearing the alloy battle armor, Xiao Chen grasped the tyrant saber's scabbard on his back with his right hand. Then, he drew his saber and swung it around before walking forward. Xiao Chen looked like he was taking a leisurely stroll, killing a mastiff with one swing of his saber. These mastiffs, which could cause heaven-defying people to flee when they saw them, and which even half-step sovereign emperors had to spend a lot of effort on, were easily killed by Xiao Chen. The mastiffs' corpses scattered, turning into beams of light that entered the cracks in the sky. Only clumps of white primeval divine liquid remained on the ground. Xiao Chen took out a clump of primeval divine liquid and refined it before absorbing it into his body. Ripples appeared on his 9-star primal core as he absorbed all the primeval divine liquid. The bottleneck of Xiao Chen's cultivation immediately loosened, making Xiao Chen reveal joy on his face. After more than half a year, this was the first time his cultivation bottleneck had loosened. It looked like this primeval divine liquid was indeed effective. Ga. 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 After the demon blood vulture circled in the sky, it turned into a palm-sized bird and landed on Xiao Chen's shoulder. Let's hunt the mastiffs, then. Most of the other foe beasts are crafty. If we run into them alone, they might be easy to defeat or kill, but they will be problematic. These mastiffs are naturally ferocious and do not know when to advance or retreat. Furthermore, they move in packs, which suits me. If Yunfei and the others knew that Xiaoqin started hunting mastiffs the first time he came to the ice-fire wasteland, their jaws would drop in shock. When they saw these mastiffs, they had to retreat. They were tyrants of the ice-fire wasteland. When they moved in packs, no one dared to clash with them. However, Xiaoqin stubbornly persisted. How could they not be shocked? In the following month, Xiaoqin spent his time hunting mastiffs. As he became more familiar with the mastiff's nature, killing them became easier. As the difficulty increased, Xiaoqin went from killing 10-odd mastiffs at once to several dozen at a time. Eventually, he killed 100 horrifying mastiffs. When Xiaoqin had free time, he would study the painting that fiendish demon Shimu gave him. Lu Benwei had already given him the second painting. Xiaoqin managed to make out some things. He discovered that this painting seemed to contain some kind of saber technique that he could not figure out. Xiaoqin was in no rush. He just took his time to study it. At this moment, raising his cultivation was still his priority. As time passed, all the cultivators on experiential training in the ice-fire wasteland's periphery came to know that such a ruthless person gave Xiaoqin the nickname Dog-Killing Demon. Normally, when ordinary people saw mastiffs charging in packs, the rational ones would flee for now, not fighting with these mad dogs that did not fear death. However, Xiaoqin did the opposite, hunting more than 100 mastiffs in one go. Furthermore, Xiaoqin did not allow others to interfere. This made everyone tremble in fear. They were even more afraid of Xiaoqin than of a mastiff. Chapter 2134. The ice-fire wasteland was about 1/10 the size of the Holy Domain. Even to sovereign personages, it was vast. The ice-fire wasteland was divided into the periphery, the inner area, and the core. After passing the core, there was a boundless lightning sea. Even foe gods would not be able to traverse the entire lightning sea. Xiaoqin did not have much ambition. For the past few days, he had been killing foe beast mastiffs in the ice-fire wasteland's periphery. After 1 month, he had already killed more than 1,000 mastiffs. This was a horrifying number. On average, Xiaoqin killed 30-odd mastiffs every day. Even Mu Yunzhu would have to put in a lot of effort to kill 30-odd mastiffs when they attacked together. Of course, it was more likely that Xiaoqin did not know how to kill mastiffs at all. The mastiff's strength was still acceptable. The main thing was that they moved in packs. Most importantly, they had a berserk nature in their bones. Compared to the crafty and intelligent foe beasts, the mastiffs would not rest until one of them died. Killing mastiffs was a waste of effort. Since that was the case, Mu Yunzhu might as well enter the inner area or the periphery and take the risk to kill those high-ranked foe beasts. Xiaoqin was different. Right now, he could kill 100 mastiffs in one go. If he used all sorts of means, the mastiffs would not be able to run even if they wanted to. In the past month, I refined 150 kilograms of primeval divine liquid. The bottleneck has loosened significantly. Compared to closed-door cultivation, I have improved a lot. However, I still have not broken through this bottleneck. Outside the ice-fire wasteland, Xiaoqin, who was currently hunting a pack of mastiffs, frowned slightly, feeling somewhat dissatisfied with his progress. Xiaoqin obtained 150 kilograms of primeval divine liquid in 1 month. Furthermore, he was only a great perfection sovereign personage. If others found out about this harvest, they would feel envious. Xiaoqin's friends had to work together in this ice-fire wasteland to obtain such a harvest. However, Xiaoqin was very strict with himself. Time in the foe god world is too precious. After casually knocking away a mastiff that pounced over, Xiaoqin split his attention and thought about something else. During the battle between the demon blood vulture and the mastiffs, Xiaoqin happened to discover that the demon blood vulture could consume foe beasts. The mastiff's ferocious might was extremely compatible with its nature, allowing it to grow quickly. Xiaoqin raised his eyebrows. Suddenly, he noticed that the 100-odd mastiffs that he had been hunting suddenly began to run away when they saw that they were about to fall into a desperate situation. He ran away. The mastiffs ran amok in the periphery of the ice-fire wasteland due to their frenzied and ferocious nature. A large part of the reason people ran when they saw them was that they would not rest until they were dead. But now, this group of mastiffs that were the size of small mountains actually ran away when they were on the verge of death. Don't tell me you're scared of me. Xiaoqin had hunted more than 1,000 mastiffs, but this was the first time he had encountered such a situation. He was stunned for a moment before he reacted. Chase! Xiaoqin gently leaped up and landed on the demon blood vulture's back, frantically giving chase. Seeing that the harvest was about to begin, the 100-odd mastiffs actually began to flee. There was no reason to let go of a cooked duck. Thunder Monarch Spear. On the demon blood vulture's back, Xiaoqin waved his hand, and 9 short spears containing the Taoist of the 5 elements, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, shot out. Each half-meter-long Thunder Monarch spear was like a treasure weapon, flickering with light and bursting with electric light. When they connected, they looked like a 5-element world, exuding an extremely strong pressure. Bang! When the 9 Thunder Monarch spears landed, they immediately killed 9 mastiffs. Then, they exploded, killing another 10-odd mastiffs. Xiaoqin gently pushed off with his feet and hovered in the air, getting the demon blood vulture to continue giving chase. He landed and waited for the mastiffs' corpses to scatter and the primeval divine liquid to appear. When the primeval divine liquid appeared, Xiaoqin waved his hand and collected it into a jade bottle. Divine Firmament 9 Variations, Everlasting Thunder Shadow. The instant Xiaoqin landed, he executed the Divine Firmament 9 Variations, leaving a purple mark. In the next moment, he reappeared on the demon blood vulture's back. When 100-odd mastiffs fled at the same time, the commotion they caused was incredibly huge. When the other trial takers saw this scene along the way, they were all frightened silly. Some of them could not dodge in time and even got injured by the mastiffs. Am I seeing things? Why is there someone chasing after mastiffs? The mastiffs that are like mad dogs actually fled. I'm not hallucinating, right? This is my first time seeing someone chasing after mastiffs. In the past, we always ran when we saw mastiffs. It's him. The dog-killing frenzied demon. No wonder. It turns out to be the dog-killing frenzied demon. At first, when the cultivators along the way saw the hill-sized mastiffs fleeing wildly, they were all startled. However, when they saw Xiaoqin wearing the alloy battle armor on the demon blood vulture's back, they all revealed expressions of understanding, no longer feeling surprised. Everyone in the ice-fire wasteland's periphery already knew about the dog-killing frenzied demon. Some people even took the initiative to lead the mastiffs to where Xiaoqin was when they had nowhere to run. However, Xiaoqin did not say anything. Who is this person? When a group of cultivators in black clothes with flaming clouds hurried along the ice-fire wasteland's periphery saw this scene, they marveled at it and stopped. The one who spoke was a youth with an extraordinary aura. He actually surpassed a heaven-defying sovereign personage, a half-step sovereign emperor. Senior Brother Fang, this is the Heavenly Alliance's Xiaoqin, the Heavenly Alliance's youngest member. Back then, he was the one who broke the records of the first and second floors. How incredible! To think that he chased after a group of mastiffs. How strong! I heard that he said that he would not fear Mu Yunzhu after half a year on the comprehension platform. However, Mu Yunzhu avoided him after half a year. I heard that he did not break the record back then. Furthermore, what is so great about killing these mastiffs? They are just some rabid dogs that no one is willing to offend. The true experts are like Senior Brother Fang, charging into the ice-fire wasteland's core. The Universe Origin sect disciples felt disdain for Xiaoqin. After the man with the family name Fang listened for a long time, he lost interest. He only looked at Xiaoqin's alloy battle armor in a somewhat distracted manner. How unfortunate. To think that he went to kill dogs while wearing the alloy battle armor. If it were me, I would be fully confident in this trip. The alloy battle armor. This was the foundation of the Heavenly Alliance's members. If they did not have sufficient accumulations, they needed resources. Any member of a super faction would covet the alloy battle armor. However, that was just that. Even if non-Heavenly Alliance members snatched the alloy battle armor, they would not be able to activate it, they could only look at it. Let's go. We still have something to do. The man with the family name Fong withdrew his gaze and led the Universe Origin sect disciples to the depths of the ice-fire wasteland. The appearance of this group of people attracted some attention in the ice-fire wasteland's periphery. This immediately incited discussions, guessing what they were going to do. It's Feng Xiaobai, one of the Universe Origin sect's top 10 disciples. He is a half-step sovereign emperor. I wonder why he is here. The ice-fire wasteland has been very lively recently. It seems like some of the top 10 disciples of the various super factions are here. Could it be the ice-fire divine origin in the core? That might really be possible. Looking at the time, the ice-fire divine origin should be about to appear. Should we go and take a look? Never mind. Every time the ice-fire divine origin appears, there will be people dying. As long as we can safely survive 10 years in the faux god world, it will be a great opportunity. There is no need to risk our lives. That's right. Many outstanding talents did not know how to restrain themselves and ended up dying. We do not have the lives of outstanding talents, so there is no need to worry about the hearts of outstanding talents. We just do what we need to do. These words were very true. Compared to outsiders, being able to enter the faux god world was a great opportunity. There was indeed no need for ordinary people to get greedy. It was important to understand one's own strength. Even so, there were still some people in the ice-fire wasteland's periphery who felt tempted when they heard that the ice-fire divine origin was about to appear, so they quietly flew to the inner area. At this moment, Xiaoqin did not know about this. He continued his great task of killing the mastiffs. After a chase, only a few of the 100-odd mastiffs remained. Only 10-odd were still running wildly. If not for waiting for the corpses to scatter and collecting the primeval divine liquid, which took some time, these mastiffs would not have wasted so much time. As Xiaoqin gave chase, he thought to himself, faux beasts are intelligent as well. Although the mastiffs have a crazed, reckless spirit in their bones, it is not strange for them to wake up after being killed for more than a month. However, hunting mastiffs in the future would be somewhat problematic. If Xiaoqin had to chase after them for half a day every time, it would be a waste of time. The gains would not make up for the losses. It looks like I will have to enter the ice-fire wasteland's inner area in advance. The mastiffs have become smarter. I cannot continue this business. How tiring. Xiaoqin finally dealt with the final 10-odd mastiffs. He had chased them for more than 6 hours. It was not very tiring, but it did take some time. Ga. Just at this moment, the demon blood vulture suddenly turned wary. It seemed to sense some danger, and all its feathers swelled up. Master, I feel that something is wrong. Xiaoqin did not sense anything wrong. However, the demon blood vulture was a ferocious beast. Compared to humans, it had an instinctive sense of unknown danger. Let's go. After carefully looking around, Xiaoqin leaped onto the demon blood vulture's back and returned the way they came. After flying 50,000 kilometers calmly, rows of mastiffs appeared at the limits of Xiaoqin's vision. Their chaotic and lifeless eyes flickered with a scarlet light as they looked coldly and emotionlessly at him. Boom! Large patches of black clouds appeared in the sky above these mastiffs. When Xiaoqin looked around, the churning black clouds charged at him from all directions. Soon, the demonic clouds gathered in all directions, and the sky instantly turned dark. Clatter! Clatter! Heavy footsteps resounded. The seemingly densely packed mastiffs blocked off all directions, encircling Xiaoqin step by step. It turned out that during the chase, Xiaoqin had arrived at an extremely desolate place in the ice-fire wasteland's periphery. The demon blood vulture under Xiaoqin's feet trembled slightly. Clearly, it felt afraid of so many mastiffs. Master, what should we do? The demon blood vulture had never seen such a large formation before. Despite its demonic nature and fearless nature, it actually felt somewhat timid. The demon blood vulture looked around and saw the densely packed mastiffs. There were at least 4,000 or 5,000 of them. All the mastiffs in the entire ice-fire wasteland were probably here for Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's expression did not change as he muttered to himself, even the dogs are scheming like humans. How much hatred do they have? Chapter 2135. When Xiao Chen looked around, there were at least 4,000 or 5,000 mastiffs in all directions. Although Xiao Chen had easily hunted down 100 mastiffs, that was already his limit. If the number increased by half, he would not be able to handle it. Doubling the number was probably his limit. If the number increased by 3 times, he would not even turn and run after taking another look. Now that the number reached such a level, there was no need to rush to run. Even if he wanted to run, he could not. Since when did dogs become more like wolves, knowing how to use strategies and listen to commands? Strange, Xiao Chen looked around and finally saw a mastiff that stood out from the rest in the east. This mastiff was completely snow-white. It stood out among the other mastiffs with flaming fur, looking very out of place. A light flickered in the mastiff's eyes, filled with spirituality. The instant the mastiffs met, Xiao Chen felt a chill run down his spine. This white mastiff should be the king of this pack of mastiffs. If Xiao Chen guessed right, it was the one who planned this plan. Despite being in danger, Xiao Chen did not panic. He calmly thought of a countermeasure. Roar! 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 Low roars resounded in the surroundings. Every mastiff looked coldly at Xiao Chen. They were only waiting for the order to tear Xiao Chen to shreds and tear him to shreds. The roars were somewhat vexing. Xiao Chen looked up at the sky. Demonic clouds already covered the shattered sky, preventing him from seeing it clearly. One could not fly too high in the faux god world. This was because the sky was shattered, with spatial tears everywhere. Space-time reversed currents were everywhere. If one was not careful, one would get sucked into some darn place. One would not be able to come out for the rest of one's life. Hence, aside from the Holy Domain's divine capital, all the other places were forbidden zones. This pack of mastiffs stirred up demonic clouds, covering this space. Space-time reversed currents and spatial tears could not be seen clearly. If Xiao Chen dared to flee through the sky, he would definitely die a tragic death. Boom! Suddenly, that snow-white mastiff let out a long howl, causing cracks to appear in the desolate plains below. The surrounding mastiffs launched themselves at Xiao Chen. Their mountain-sized bodies shot over like sharp arrows. Under such pressure, the demon blood vulture's ferocious might was brought out as it cried out. The demon blood vulture flapped its wings, and a scarlet tornado appeared, churning violently. Plop! Plop! When the mastiffs crashed into the scarlet tornado, they were immediately mangled and blasted back. However, there were simply too many of them. As they continued to attack, the power of the storm gradually weakened. Several mastiffs passed through the storm, barking at Xiao Chen with ferocious expressions. Even before it got close, the sound waves from its roar were enough to make one's head spin. It penetrated deep into one's soul pool and reverberated endlessly. Faux beasts were born in the primal chaos space. They innately grasped all kinds of great daos, just that they did not know how to use them. Their techniques were crude, but in reality, their power was not ordinary. Xiao Chen's expression remained calm as the dragon roar in his body spread out and clashed with the sound waves from the mastiffs. The two clashed endlessly, producing intense sounds. Even before the battle had begun, it was already incomparably intense. Xiao Chen calmly watched the mastiffs lunging at him. Then, he pressed down on his saber without moving, not flustered or flustered at all. His gaze was calm as he looked at the mastiffs that were charging at him. He held onto his weapon and did not move. He did not panic and did not panic at all. In Xiao Chen's vision, the figures of these mastiffs grew larger and larger until they occupied his entire vision. Kill! Just at this crucial moment, Xiao Chen drew the tyrant's saber. Whoosh! A resplendent saber light shot out from the saber. Under the state of martial and soul as one, Xiaochen stored up power and chopped with his saber. Whoosh! The mastiffs cried out miserably at the same time. Blood spurted out. However, this blood lost its color when illuminated by the saber light. Clearly, it was not practical to use the sharp spirit finger now. The sharp spirit finger could knock back the enemy but not kill them. When hunting, it was best to use it to knock back the enemy and prevent the mastiffs from getting close. However, now, he wanted this group of beasts to not return. If they dared to come, they would die. Under the state of martial and soul as one, Xiaochen executed his flawless saber Dao. All the mastiffs that came over were merciless. With his full power, he killed them with one saber strike. 10 odd mastiffs immediately died amid mournful cries. However, there was still an unending stream of them, unending. Master, I can't hold on any longer. 1 hour later, the demon blood vulture said in Xiaochen's mind. The demon blood vulture was different from Xiaochen. Without the alloy battle armor, the mastiffs could take its life in a few bites. The demon blood vulture had been able to help Xiaochen last until now, blocking most of the mastiffs and holding on for 1 hour, which was already very rare. Come back, then. There's no rush. I still have one last strike. The demon blood vulture ignored Xiaochen's words. It suddenly left Xiaochen's feet, and its entire body blazed with a fierce flame. However, as the intense flame burned, the demon blood vulture's gargantuan body slowly condensed and shrank. However, the light on its body became increasingly intense. Even the saber light that Xiaochen sent out with the martial and soul merger regained its color. When the demon blood vulture was palm-sized, the surrounding scarlet storm suddenly vanished. In an instant, the hundreds of mastiffs that had been blocked outside charged at Xiaochen. The scene was extremely dangerous. The martial arts that Xiaochen practiced could not kill all these mastiffs except in the human world. The consequences were extremely terrifying. Over 100 mastiffs pounced on him, and even with the protection of the alloy armor, he would still be seriously injured. Just as Xiaochen prepared to execute in the mortal realm, the palm-sized demon blood vulture covered in a jade-like scarlet light remained. Like an arrow, it shot out. Xiao! The demon blood vulture's body stabbed into a mastiff's eye. Then, it spun its wings and pierced through the mastiff's brain. Ka ka ka! A jade-like scarlet light shone as the demon blood vulture's body shot out like an arrow, turning into a beam of light and piercing through the heads of the many mastiffs. In an instant, these hundreds of mastiffs were like paper before the demon blood vulture's strongest killing move, killing them all. The originally densely packed mastiffs, which nearly suffocated Xiaochen, all fell to the ground. Xiaochen sucked in a breath of cold air. How strong! Even if Xiaochen executed entering hell, he would not be able to kill all these mastiffs. However, the demon blood vulture did it. Before Xiaochen could sigh, he saw the demon blood vulture's body turn dim and wobbly after executing this killing move. A mastiff pounced over and opened its jaws, preparing to swallow the demon blood vulture. Scram! Divine Firmament 9 Variations, Traceless Lightning Shadow. Leaving behind a faint purple mark, he appeared in front of the mastiff and sent it flying with a vicious kick. The demon blood vulture quickly turned into a beam of scarlet light and returned to Xiaochen's fingertip, turning into a ring. Master, this is a killing move that I learned from Big Brother Little Yellow Feather. It's pretty good, right? The demon blood vulture's voice rang out, sounding very weak. However, it seemed to be waiting for Xiaochen's praise. Xiaochen felt some heartache as he said, quickly rest. You are very strong. You did what I, your master, could not do. Hee, damn it. However, I'm too tired. I can't help master anymore. The demon blood vulture let out a strange laugh at first. Then, its voice grew softer until it stopped. Xiaochen looked around. After the demon blood vulture's massacre, there were at least 1,000 mastiff corpses on the ground. Martial and soul as one required merging the will of the martial Tao and the will of soul. Every time one attacked, one could bring out 120% of a cultivator's combat prowess, even 50%. Hence, Xiaoqin could kill a mastiff with one saber strike. However, in the state of martial and soul as one, the drain on veritable essence energy and soul energy was immense. With the protection of the alloy battle armor, Xiaoqian's physical body would not be affected in such an intense battle. However, it was hard to say how long he could last. When Xiaoqian looked around, he saw that the snow-white mastiffs were still in formation. Despite the huge losses, this pack of mastiffs did not panic, preparing for the next wave of attacks. It was already very unusual for them to disregard all costs to fight like this. Xiaoqian took a rough look and estimated that there were at least 4,000 mastiffs. If he continued fighting, he would definitely die. When he ran out of veritable essence energy, he would definitely die. Charge out! Xiaoqian looked around and fixed his gaze on the snow-white mastiff. Then, he immediately charged at the snow-white mastiff. The key to breaking out of this situation was this snow-white mastiff. With this beast in formation, it was practically impossible to charge out in any other direction. Only by fighting with this beast and making it unable to give orders, would he be able to fight for a chance of survival. Even though he knew that this beast was as strong as a half-step sovereign emperor, he had to fight to the death. Chapter 2136. Whoosh! Seeing Xiaoqin fly towards the white mastiff, the many other mastiffs launched themselves at Xiaoqin, trying to block his way. Under the white mastiff's command, the originally clumsy and ferocious mastiffs actually knew when to advance and when to retreat. They knew how to block Xiaoqin, how to delay him, how to disrupt and harass Xiaoqin. This made Xiaoqian's advance very difficult. That white mastiff stood at the top and did not back down. It only looked at Xiaoqin coldly, like it wanted to give him hope. As Xiaoqin arranged his troops, the mastiffs in the other directions also took the opportunity to surround him. Before Xiaoqin advanced halfway, the alloy battle armor that he wore turned black from the mastiff's blood. Mastiffs were not made of flesh and blood. Although it was called blood, it was actually just the strange liquid in their bodies. Halfway through, Xiaoqin was horrified to discover that the distance between him and the white mastiff did not shrink. Instead, it increased significantly. What's going on? After a moment of shock, Xiaoqin suddenly understood. It turned out that when this white mastiff was commanding the black flame beasts, the black flame beasts did not move at all. It turned out that when the white mastiff commanded the other mastiffs to change their angle, it looked like they were continuously killing mastiffs and pressing in. In reality, Xiaoqin was being led by the nose by the mastiff. As he advanced and retreated, he had already changed his original direction. If Xiaoqin had not startled awake, he would not have reached the white mastiff even if he killed for the rest of his life. Such a scheme sent a chill down Xiaoqian's spine. Even some intelligent humans would not be able to come up with such a scheme. To think that the white mastiff was so smart. Damn it! When Xiaoqin thought about how he got tricked by a dog, he could not help feeling angry. Coupled with the fact that the continuous battles were all in vain, it caused a trace of fluctuation to appear in his tranquil state of mind. When Xiaoqin looked up, he saw that the white mastiff was still looking at him coldly. However, to Xiaoqin now, there was an additional trace of mockery in its gaze. Calm down. If I am not careful, I might die here. Every month, outstanding talents from the outside world would fall in the faux god world, losing their originally great futures. In the past, Xiaoqin felt astonished. Human cultivators had many trump cards and various means. How could they still die to faux beasts? Now, he himself had fallen into such a dangerous situation. If he was the slightest bit careless, he would lose his life. It had to be said that it was somewhat ironic. Xiao. Xiaoqin withdrew from the state of martial and soul as one. Given the current situation, before his veritable essence energy and soul energy ran out, he would not be able to escape. With the state of martial and spirit as one, Xiaoqin would not be able to kill all the mastiffs. He might as well save some energy for the white mastiff. There was no way out. The mastiffs were already chasing after them. Their only chance of survival was to charge forward. I don't believe that I, Xiao Chen, will die under the siege of a bunch of mad dogs. Xiao Chen snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, a scroll slowly unfurled. It slowly rose into the sky. When it fully unfurled, a Taiji yin-yang flame diagram appeared in the sky. The universe origin true flame and the heavenly snow divine flame chased each other in the sky. Yin-yang, the 4 divisions, the 8 trigrams, all sorts of mysterious phenomena appeared. Xiao Chen held his saber with his right hand and raised his left palm to the sky, circulating the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram with all his might. Immediately, an overwhelming might spread out from the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram. Xiao Chen quickly withdrew his saber, and the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram descended from the sky. The Taiji force field appeared under Xiao Chen's feet, trapping the mastiffs. Xiao Chen moved between yin and yang, moving erratically. He raised his saber and swung it, continuously killing the mastiffs. The snow-white mastiff felt somewhat flustered. In this Taiji force field, it could no longer command the mastiffs. Trapped in the Taiji force field, the mastiffs moved very slowly. They still had to block Xiao Chen's saber light and could not even take care of themselves, unable to carry out the white mastiff's commands. Without the white mastiff's command, the berserk mastiffs reverted to their original nature. Their threat to Xiao Chen was greatly reduced. Xiao Chen had no choice but to use the trump card that he had prepared for this white mastiff in advance. Whoosh! Xiao Chen's figure moved like lightning as he controlled the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram, weaving through the many mastiffs, advancing quickly. Soon, the white mastiff arrived before him. Resolving the mundane. Without any hesitation, Xiao Chen entered the state of martial and soul as one and soared into the air. Then, with his 7-fold killing chi, he executed resolving the mundane. However, something strange happened. Xiao Chen was already very fast. However, that white mastiff seemed to have figured out when Xiao Chen was going to make his move. It was like an experienced cultivator. Before the eternal and inextinguishable saber light completely formed, the white mastiff pounced over like a bolt of white lightning. It pounced over like a bolt of white lightning, roaring in midair and slapping its claw over. This claw contained many chaotic great daos. It was very crude and extremely primitive. However, the great daos were vast and mighty, directly shattering Xiao Chen's incomplete resolving the mundane. Pu ci. Xiao Chen nearly spat out a mouthful of blood as he moved back. Incredulity flashed in his eyes. Without waiting for the other party to attack, Xiao Chen materialized Firmament's Rage with his left hand and threw a palm strike. The white mastiff wanted to charge forward and kill Xiao Chen. However, a huge palm containing the Tao of the 5-element divine lightning struck it. The snow-white mastiff's huge body was smashed to the ground by the palm. The white mastiff also showed shock in its eyes, clearly surprised. It was like a seasoned hunter, roaring continuously. The many mastiffs that were not trapped in the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram leaped into the air, moving as nimbly as birds. Leaping through the air, they were as agile as birds as they slowly surrounded him. Buddha in the mortal realm, quelling the seas and desolation. Xiao Chen snorted coldly, and a swastika appeared on his forehead. Then, ancient Buddhist chants reverberated. A hole appeared in the black demonic clouds in the sky. Then, the Supreme Killing Buddha descended and pushed its palms in all directions. Bang! In an instant, the 1,000-odd mastiffs flying over were all knocked back. Cracks appeared on their physical bodies. Entering hell. Xiao Chen chose to fight the white mastiff so that it could not care about anything else, unable to command the other mastiffs. Seeing the white mastiff use the same trick, how could Xiao Chen let it do as it wished? He executed Buddha in the mortal realm and knocked back the 1,000-odd mastiffs. Then, he held up an evil dragon materialized from the Azura hell and chopped down. With this saber strike, a world-destroying evil dragon appeared. It bared its fangs and claws, looking like it wanted to swallow the world. Although the white mastiff was strong, it was still a foe beast in the end. It could not practice martial techniques like human cultivators. This was Xiao Chen's strongest saber strike. It instantly gained a suppressive advantage as it pressed down. Boom! The evil dragon knocked back the huge mastiff for 5,000 kilometers like it was a snowy mountain. After it landed, another loud sound rang out. A huge pit appeared in the ground, and a pillar of flame shot up into the sky. After the Azura hell disappeared, Xiaochen wore the alloy battle armor, looking very heroic. He held his saber and appeared very tyrannical. Whoosh! 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 Divine Firmament 9 Variations, Traceless Lightning Shadow. He left behind only a few faint purple marks. Then, 5,000 kilometers away, Xiaochen charged over at lightning speed. Roar! A terrifying sound wave suddenly rang out, and visible ripples spread out. Caught off guard, Xiaochen held his saber horizontally in front of him and got knocked back. Whoosh! 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 After stabilizing himself, Xiaochen tightly grasped his tyrant saber and swung it in the air a few times, scattering the remaining sound wave energy on him. After a few swings, saber winds howled, and a strong wind blew in all directions. Xiaochen's long hair fluttered about, and blood leaked out of a corner of his lips. Doubt flashed in his eyes. This white mastiff was overly strong. Mastiffs were strong because they moved in packs. They were strong because of the madness in their bones. Individually, any heaven-defying sovereign personage could easily crush them. While Xiaochen's cultivation was not high, he did not fear fighting a half-step sovereign emperor alone. The white mastiff placed its 2 palms on the edge of the huge pit. Then, it leaped up and charged at Xiaochen again. Let's see how strong you are. A golden light burned in Xiaochen's eyes as he instantly activated his blue dragon bloodline. At the same time, he entered the state of martial and soul as one again. Whoosh! Whoosh! Xiaochen swung the tyrant saber in his hand a few more times. Saber lights flickered in this black and white world, appearing dazzling. Under the effects of his great desolate Ian bloodline, Xiaochen activated martial and soul as one. With a few random swings, he kicked up a strong wind that made the ferocious white mastiff stagger. 10,000 Dragons Picture. The 10,000 Dragons picture appeared indistinctly behind Xiaochen. Boundless dragon roars resounded as Xiaochen fought an intense battle with this white mastiff in his peak state. There was no time. He needed to deal with this white mastiff quickly. The mastiff pack that he knocked back earlier was closing in again. However, even though Xiaochen was in his peak state, he did not have the strength to execute any of his martial techniques. He had already executed his strongest Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique earlier and could not execute it again within a short time. I still have the flawless saber Dao. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiaochen saw the mastiff lolling its fangs and charging over. So, he decided to use his flawless saber Dao as the final strike. The flawless saber Dao was not about perfection. It was about a heart that pursued perfection. Heart as a saber, body as a saber, hair as a saber, will as a saber. Ding! Dang! 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 Xiaochen brandished his saber. His steps were like that of an immortal, moving nimbly and refined. Strands of saber light flickered on Xiaochen's body. 3,000 strands of hair were 3,000 saber lights. Every part of the alloy battle armor was a resplendent saber light. A zither-like saber hum rang out in the 5,000 kilometers of desolate plains. Just at this moment, Xiaochen suddenly remembered the first painting that senior fiendish saber Shimu gave him. Lush mountains, clear waters, white clouds, and wild cranes flying in the sky. If there is no one in the painting, for whom are the green mountains? If there is no one in the painting, for whom are the green waters flowing? I understand now. A bright light suddenly flashed in Xiaochen's eyes as he listened to the zither-like saber hum echoing in the 5,000 kilometers of desolate plains. It reverberated in the mountains, wanton in the wind, rejoicing with all things in this vast world. However, if one opened one's eyes and looked, the mountains were mountains, the water was water. The most ordinary scenery in the world was just that. If there is no one in the painting, for whom are they? The green mountains are the green mountains, the green waters are the green waters, the white clouds are the white clouds. All things have spirits, all things are fiends. What is a fiend? Xiaochen reared his head back and laughed. Then, he suddenly gave up on the white mastiffs and pointed his saber at the sky. What is a fiend? I rejoice with all things. The world fell silent. In the next moment, the vast desolate plains rejoiced with Xiaochen. Boundless saber lights burst out of the mountains and the ground. At this moment, all things rejoiced together. Resplendent saber lights filled the vast desolate plains. Aside from Xiaochen, the others were pierced by thousands of saber lights. When the saber lights scattered, all the mastiffs were destroyed, leaving only countless drops of primeval divine liquid floating in the surroundings. Chapter 2137. The green mountains were the green mountains, and the white clouds were the white clouds. Bloodline activation, alloy battle armor, martial and soul as one. In his peak state, he had to use his strongest killing move. What is a fiend? I rejoice with all things. With just one move, Xiaochen killed all the mastiffs within 500,000 kilometers in his strongest state. As his bloodline slowly faded, Xiaochen exited the state of martial and soul as one. He should have exhausted his veritable essence energy and soul energy, but he felt refreshed and carefree. However, he felt refreshed and carefree, and his entire body was surging with power. I broke through. Xiaochen broke through the final bottleneck of a great perfection sovereign personage with this moment of comprehension. He became a peak sovereign personage, sweeping away all his fatigue and weakness. When one's strength improved, no amount of resources could compare to an instant of comprehension. The old saying was indeed true. Whoosh! 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 Xiaochen's figure flashed, moving as fast as lightning as he arrived beside the white mastiff's corpse. The white mastiff was merely a half-step sovereign emperor. Given Xiaochen's strength, he would not feel any pressure fighting it alone. Foe beasts were different from humans. They did not know martial techniques or chaotic Tao domains, much less mental states. Within the same cultivation realm, a mediocre person would not be a match for a foe beast. However, if a foe beast was not special, it would not be sufficient to face an outstanding talent. However, this white mastiff before Xiaochen forced Xiaochen into danger several times. Even fighting it alone was somewhat difficult. If Xiaochen had not comprehended the painting that the foe god expert fiendish saber Shimu left behind at the last moment, it would have been a Pyrrhic victory. How to deal with the remaining mastiffs would have been a problem. Its intelligence was monstrous, inspiring fear. Xiaochen felt very curious about what was so special about this white mastiff for it to be so difficult to deal with. Compared to the other mastiffs, the white mastiff's corpse dissipated very slowly. Most of its body still remained. What is this? Xiaochen raised his eyebrows slightly. A black jade pendant appeared in the white mastiff's disappearing head. This jade pendant was clearly refined by a cultivator. A foe beast would not have something like this. Xiaochen's expression immediately changed and became somewhat gloomy. This white mastiff was being controlled by someone. From the mastiff's strange escape, someone had set up a trap for him, waiting for him to jump into it. No, perhaps, from the moment he left the Holy Region's divine capital, he had already been targeted. After killing mastiffs for a month, someone finally found an opportunity to set up this trap. If Xiaochen died, it would be a perfect plan. Who knew how many outstanding talents had died at the hands of foe beasts? Over the past month, many people had personally witnessed him madly killing mastiffs. Dying to the mastiff's vengeance was completely justifiable and would not arouse any suspicions. It was simply flawless. The black jade pendant no longer had any spiritual qi. It looked like a black stone, a broken stone. Xiaochen picked it up and looked around. The person who came had planned this meticulously. Clearly, Xiaochen had many misgivings. He feared exposing his identity or that his true body was not in the ice-fire wasteland at all. Who will kill me? As Xiao Chen looked at the black jade pendant, he entered deep thought. His thoughts raced as he thought of many things. Many people's faces appeared in his mind. However, in the end, Xiao Chen suddenly laughed. See! See! Xiao Chen clenched his right fist, and the black jade pendant in his hand shattered into dust. It did not matter who it was. The important thing was that he was still alive. As long as he could survive, the truth would come to light sooner or later. Overthinking was not good. Now that Xiao Chen had gained enlightenment and made a breakthrough in his cultivation, he gained many more comprehensions of the martial Tao. There was no need to waste time on this. Demon Blood Vulture, come out! Xiao Chen woke up the Demon Blood Vulture. Now that he had broken through the bottleneck of his cultivation, he no longer needed this vast amount of primeval divine liquid. Master, what's wrong? After waking up, the Demon Blood Vulture appeared somewhat weakly. However, when it saw the densely packed primeval divine liquid, it was stunned. My goodness! Master, how did you do it? To think that you killed all these mastiffs. Xiao Chen glanced at the corpse of the white mastiff, which had yet to completely disappear, and said, Stop speaking nonsense. Quickly swallow them all. They are all yours. These are the white mastiff's corpses. They are also yours. I won't fight with you over them. The Demon Blood Vulture immediately felt like it was dreaming. Really? When have I ever joked? Ga. Thank you, Master. In that case, I won't stand on ceremony. A bunch of trash. In the end, Grandpa will still consume them. Perhaps I can take advantage of this opportunity to make a breakthrough. The originally weak Demon Blood Vulture immediately perked up and let out strange cries. Its cries sounded incredibly arrogant, as if it had forgotten itself. Xiao Chen thought for a while and looked for a quiet place to land. Then, he took out the first painting that Lu Benwei had given him. Lush mountains, clear water, white clouds, and wild cranes flying in the sky. In the past, Xiao Chen could not understand it. He could only vaguely sense that the painting contained an indescribable Tao. This should be the inheritance of some special saber technique. However, Lu Benwei did not say anything, and Xiao Chen had not even seen fiendish saber Shimu. When Xiao Chen focused and brought out his flawless saber Tao to its limits, he finally understood. Perhaps I can use this opportunity to complete my saber Tao in one go and comprehend the Tao of the saber Tao. A bright light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes as he stared at the painting. The lush mountains, clear water, and white clouds in the painting all came to life, demonstrating his Tao to him. Xiao Chen gently loosened his grip, and the painting floated in front of him without any external force. All things rejoice together. This is my comprehension. My flawless saber Tao clearly benefited a lot from this. If I can make another breakthrough from this and gain some more comprehension, I will definitely be able to break through to the Tao of the saber Tao. The expression in Xiao Chen's eyes became increasingly resolute. As he stared at the painting, he slowly became immersed in it, forgetting some things. He forgot about his flawless saber Tao, where he was, and his original purpose. It was like he had entered the painting, becoming entranced. Whoosh! After some time, the painting before Xiao Chen burst into flames. He startled awake, feeling like he was dreaming. Just earlier, he felt like he had a very long dream. In the dream, he turned into stone, flowing water, and a tall mountain in one moment. It was not that his soul had been imprisoned. Instead, he had really turned into a tall mountain and flowing water. In the dream, he could feel the majesty of the mountain, the joy of the water, the tranquility of the trees, and all sorts of emotions. In the dream, Xiao Chen had forgotten everything. Now that he suddenly startled awake, the painting before him burned. Xiao Chen quickly stepped forward, wanting to put out the flame. This was something that the foe god had given him. It was hard to say how much it was worth. The crucial thing was that the foe god had not stated clearly whether he had given it to Xiao Chen or not. If the other party wanted it back, Xiaochen would feel like crying. However, the flame burned too quickly. By the time Xiaochen reacted, the painting had already burned up, turning into ashes. The demon blood vulture slowly descended from the sky. Xiaochen sighed helplessly and asked, "How long did I comprehend the Tao for?" "Master, you maintained that strange posture for a total of 10 days. Just 10 days? Why do I feel like several hundred years have passed?" Xiaochen said softly, feeling disappointed and frustrated. Then, he looked at his surroundings again, feeling very mysterious. The entire ice-fire wasteland seemed different to his eyes. As he looked around curiously, Xiaochen was shocked to discover that this world was truly different. Without any effort, he could feel the flow of everything. He could even see the wind. The wind was formless. Without any reference, it would be impossible to discover it. However, in Xiaochen's eyes, the wind was like a child jumping around. This feeling was very mysterious. Although his combat prowess did not increase, the wondrous feeling was indescribable. "Unfortunately, my Saber Dao domain is still lacking. I feel that I should be able to grasp the Saber Dao domain. If the foe god gives me pointers, I will be able to immediately comprehend it." Shaking his head, Xiaochen turned his head to look at the demon blood vulture. He was shocked to discover that the demon blood vulture's eyes had turned completely golden. A faint golden line appeared on all of its tail feathers. Its appearance seemed to have changed slightly. "What is this? Many thanks for Master's help. My mutated bloodline seems to have improved. I feel like I'm reverting to my ancestors. Right now, my strength is 50% higher than 10 days ago." Xiaochen smiled and said, "Your improvement is even greater than mine. I don't dare to compare myself to Master." The demon blood vulture now submitted to Xiaochen. No matter how cocky it was, it did not dare to appear before Xiaochen. Just at this moment, Xiaochen's expression changed slightly. He looked at the wasteland under his feet and muttered, "Strange. Why do I feel like the ground is moving up and down like waves?" "No. Master." Chapter 2138. After comprehending all things rejoicing together, Xiaochen felt like he gained a new ability that allowed him to see through the essence of all things. However, Xiaochen grasped martial and soul as one, allowing him to bring out more than 100% of his strength without any worries. The demon blood vulture reminded Xiaochen. Then, the wind blew on the ashes of the painting, revealing a scarlet light. Just as Xiaochen felt uncertain, the blood flowed into Xiaochen's palm. His palm immediately gave off a scarlet light, and images of mountains, rivers, white clouds, and wild cranes flashed in his mind. Xiaochen saw through the underground in a nearly transparent manner. Aside from the flame veins, he even saw several hidden ores and divine materials. In that instant, Xiaochen saw through the entire ice-fire wasteland. The ground turned transparent in his eyes. Xiaochen frowned slightly as he bent over and touched the ground with one hand. "Does Senior Shimu know about this?" When the ashes completely dissipated, a drop of blood was revealed. Strange? Xiaochen thought for a while. He could take this opportunity to absorb it and nurture his heavenly snow divine flame and universe origin true flame. How cold! If I did not have the alloy battle armor to protect me, I would have committed a great taboo by coming down like this. As Xiaochen muttered to himself, he raised his eyebrows and sighed softly. The ground rippled like waves in his eyes again. After a while, Xiaochen let go. He had already recorded a map in his mind. His veritable essence energy surged and scattered the ice. Xiaochen felt some lingering fear. He had only descended 10 kilometers, and he had not gone far before he ran into a problem. Just this point alone allowed him to surpass many half-step sovereign emperors. Whoosh! Right now, Xiaochen revealed an expression of joy. It turned out that the ice continent of the ice-fire wasteland contained 18 crisscrossing flame veins. Blood represented hatred, anger, and pain, which often brought about negative emotions. However, The feeling that this drop of blood brought about was very strange, but not evil. When the blood merged with his palm and all the images disappeared from his mind, a saber technique appeared in Xiao Chen's mind, all things rejoicing together. The deeper one went, the harder the ice became. After reaching a depth of 10,000 meters, the hardness of the underground ice was comparable to divine materials. Even an imperial king expert would find it difficult to force their way through. The same scene appeared twice. Even if it was really a hallucination, there was definitely something strange about it. As a crack appeared on the ground, Xiaochen jumped down without hesitation. For ordinary martial artists, being able to display 80% of their strength was already extremely impressive. Those who could display 100% were few and far between. The alloy battle armor was now at 2-star. Raising the alloy battle armor's star rank was an extremely arduous task. Xiaochen needed a vast amount of divine materials. Then, he had to hand the gloves to the Heavenly Alliance to use a secret method to refine them. After carefully comprehending the fiendish saber inheritance, Xiaochen collected his thoughts and looked at his left hand. In addition to martial and spirit as one, and my many trump cards, my true strength right now. I should be between a half-step sovereign emperor and a false emperor. However, I have never seen a true false emperor before, so it is not easy to test my true strength. The instant Xiaochen raised his hand, the various mysterious phenomena vanished. The ice-fire wasteland returned to normal in Xiaochen's eyes. As Xiaochen watched, one of the 9 stars around the divine characters lit up when the blood stopped flowing. Why did the painting burn? It was not just Xiaochen who was comprehending it. The mountains and rivers in the painting also improved rapidly. Xiaochen suddenly startled awake. All things had spirits. The mountains and rivers in the painting that Senior Shimu gave him all turned into fiends. Shimu was the one who gave Xiaochen the painting. Clearly, the fiend blood had such a miraculous effect because of Senior Shimu's opportunity. Many cracks immediately appeared in the ground. Xiaochen's gentle palm strike shook the wasteland for 5,000 kilometers around, as terrifying as an earthquake. The ice-fire wasteland had existed for many epochs. It was very normal for true divine materials to be born there. Clearly, the wasteland did not really move like waves. The ground was still flat. Xiaochen closed his eyes and touched the ground with one hand. The scarlet divine characters on the back of his right glove suddenly released a red light that seeped into the ground. Right now, the only problem was how to enter the ice-fire wastelands underground. Whoosh! Did I see wrong? I vaguely obtained a fiendish saber inheritance. Xiaochen placed his right hand on the ground again and activated the scarlet divine characters. A wondrous scene appeared again. Senior Shimu truly lives up to his reputation. Under the wasteland made of ice, there were 18 flames that looked like blood vessels, crisscrossing in the underground, forming a complicated network. It's here. However, the painting could no longer support these creatures. So, it burned up, leaving only this drop of fiend blood. This place was a weak node in the complex underground. A single move would cause the entire body to move. There would always be weak points in the vast ice-fire wasteland. As long as one found the weak points and connected them together, one could enter the underground. Master, what is that? A bright light flashed in Xiaochen's eyes. After some thought, he said, now that I am a peak sovereign personage and comprehended this fiendish saber, all things rejoicing together, a heaven-defying sovereign personage is no longer a match for me. My cultivation is already close to that of a half-step sovereign emperor. I just have not merged my Tao domain and soul energy to form a divine seal. Xiaochen needed to figure out what was going on with this drop of fiend blood. What a mysterious feeling. Xiaochen looked carefully and saw that the ground had indeed not moved. He could not help finding it strange. What was going on? Xiaochen had already asked around about Shimu in the Holy Domain's divine capital. He knew that this senior was an extremely strong foe god. Shimu's saber techniques were superb. He could be considered the peak of peak among peak foe god bladesmen. On the contrary, there was a trace of gentleness that did not repel him. Xiaochen felt startled. He had never experienced such a thing before. It looked like he had to meet Senior Shimu after he returned. There was a total of 9 grades of primal chaos level flames. Right now, Xiaochen's Heavenly Snow Divine Flame and Universe Origin True Flame had both reached rank 5. After looking around to verify his surroundings, Xiaochen coldly smacked the ground with his palm. This is the blood of the legendary mountain and river spirits. Xiaochen could bring out more than 100% of his strength only under special conditions or with the help of medicinal pills. He could not avoid the side effects. No wonder it is called the Ice-Fire Wasteland. Perhaps the true core of this continent is the 18 yin-yang flame veins. After thousands or tens of thousands of years, they form this ice-fire wasteland. The ground is the ice continent, and the sky is empty with snowflakes made of flames. Whoosh! 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 Xiaochen released his hand, and his figure flashed. Then, he arrived at a seemingly ordinary spot. This immediately startled Xiaochen. His alloy battle armor had already reached 2-star. What was the origin of this drop of blood left behind after the painting burned? Crack! Crack! However, Xiaochen had used the divine characters dyed red by the fiend blood to see through the entire ice-fire wasteland. To him, this was not too difficult. Furthermore, this inheritance was even stronger than Lu Benwei's, as Xiaochen had obtained a drop of fiend blood, perfectly obtaining his unique inheritance. The fluctuations that Xiaochen saw earlier were actually flame energy surging and expanding underground. That energy was extremely horrifying. It felt like it could topple the entire ice-fire wasteland at any moment, shattering it. However, a drop of fiend blood actually raised the alloy battle armor by 1 grade. In the Holy Domain's divine capital, one needed to spend large amounts of faux god coins to exchange for all sorts of flames to raise the grade of a flame. However, Xiaochen grasped martial and soul as one, merging the will of soul and the will of martial Dao. He could easily bring out 100% of his combat prowess. With some effort, he could bring out 120%, even 150% of his strength. However, since Xiaochen was already here, there was no reason for him to shrink back. However, Xiaochen did not pay attention to all this. He only focused on finding the weak spots underground. That drop of blood merged with Xiaochen's palm. Then, the Heavenly Alliance's insignia, formed by 7 pieces of gold, started flowing like blood on the back of his alloy battle armor. Earlier, Xiaochen had sensed that these 18 flame veins were yin and yang. 9 flame veins represented extreme cold, and the other 9 were contradictory extreme heat. When Xiaochen landed, a chill assaulted him from all directions. A layer of frost covered the alloy battle armor. With every few steps, the frost turned into ice, slowing Xiaochen's movements somewhat. Crack! Unexpectedly, the painting that fiendish saber Shimu gave Xiaochen hit a strange drop of blood. Chapter 2139. The earlier palm strike struck the node of this 50 kilometers of desolate plain, shaking the ground and creating large cracks. After he landed, he found himself in front of a newly formed underground tunnel. Then, according to his memory, Xiaochen found this tunnel. According to his memory, Xiaochen advanced through the many branches of the underground ice tunnel. Xiaochen moved very slowly. As it was too cold, he had to stop occasionally to remove the ice from his alloy battle armor. 1 hour later, a dead end appeared in front of Xiaochen, blocked by a thick layer of ice. At this depth, the underground ice was already as hard as divine material. Logically speaking, it should be very hard to break. However, if Xiaochen did not go the wrong way, the ice wall in front should be a weak spot. Xiaochen soared into the air and punched. He immediately felt his palm go numb, which was very uncomfortable. The ice blocking the way only left a faint mark, not much of a ripple. Did I remember wrongly? Xiaochen let out a soft cry of surprise. Then, he prepared to throw another punch. Ka-xie! Ka-xie! Cracks appeared in the ice wall in front. Then, it exploded with a loud bang. Xiaochen felt that something was wrong. He crossed his arms in front of him, and the formation in the alloy battle armor activated automatically, forming a lightning shield in front of him. Pa! However, it was still too late. Pa! The impact of the explosion instantly knocked Xiaochen into the air. The entire underground once again shook violently. The ice above their heads seemed to be swaying as well, and pieces of ice and rocks kept falling off. Xiaochen relaxed his hands and took a look. Then, his expression changed slightly as he executed the Divine Firmament 9 variations. Like a sudden clap of thunder, he dashed towards the open passageway in front of him. Just as he disappeared, a figure appeared in front of him. The instant he disappeared, the ice wall behind him collapsed. When Xiaochen looked back, the path he had come in was completely blocked. The terrain changed again. It will probably be difficult to turn back now. When Xiaochen jumped down, he did not think too much about it. Now, he discovered that it was indeed a problem. I should continue. As long as I can benefit the Heavenly Snow Divine Flame and the Universe Origin True Flame, it will all be worth it. Following the route in his memory, Xiaochen broke through the weak points one by one and connected them together, going deeper and deeper. The terrain fluctuated for a few times. The fighters who were training above ice and snow wilderness were all scared and didn't know what had happened. Found it. After a few twists and turns, Xiaochen finally found a flame vein after walking underground for 6 hours. When Xiaochen lowered his head and looked down, the surging flame vein was pure and dense. It was like a surging river flowing continuously. Even though Xiaochen was 10,000 li high up in the sky, he could still feel the surging heat waves assaulting his face. Fortunately, he had alloy battle armor. Alloy was different from other divine materials, and it could not withstand heat. If the armor was made of other divine materials, even a postnatal divine body wouldn't be able to withstand it. Not only that, but the alloy war armor also had a very good heat insulation effect, greatly reducing the pressure on him. Such pure flame energy. Pleasant surprise filled Xiaochen's eyes. He could not truly feel it when he was above ground. However, when he observed it up close, Xiaochen knew that he had picked up a treasure. As long as Xiaochen could absorb a tenth of the flame in this flame vein, his Universe Origin True Flame would probably immediately advance to rank 6. That would save him at least 100,000 faux god coins. As Xiaochen stood above, his emotions fluctuated. He still felt like he was dreaming. He really had to thank the person controlling the mastiff to kill him. If not for that person, how could he have comprehended all things rejoicing together? How could he have comprehended the painting and obtained that drop of fiend blood? Otherwise, without the help of the fiend blood, Xiaochen would not dare to say that he was a faux god. No matter how strong a divine vein realm sovereign emperor was, it would take at least 100 years to reach this place. Of course, it was more likely that they could not sense the 18 flame veins under the ice-fire wasteland. Boom! Xiaochen opened his palm, and a clump of golden flame appeared. This was the Universe Origin True Flame's origin flame, the heavenly flame that he obtained in the Kunlun realm. Go! Xiaochen gently pushed, and this clump of origin flame slowly descended, hovering above the flame vein. The flame vein surged endlessly like a gushing river. Xiaochen sat down cross-legged, and his soul energy surged. Immediately, the origin flame spun endlessly. A suction force was emitted, and a loud sound rang out. Waves of fire surged up from the flame vein below, rushing towards the origin flame. The primordial Trifire's origin flame was like a cultivator absorbing source liquid. It excitedly absorbed and refined the flames of the flame vein below. Xiaochen closed his eyes and circulated his energy, unhurriedly controlling the Universe Origin True Flame's origin flame to absorb and refine the flame in the flame vein below. How slow! 1 hour later, Xiaochen suddenly opened his eyes. The flame vein was vast and boundless. It was like the sea. Although the origin flame absorbed it quickly, it was still insignificant. At this rate, Xiaochen would need to spend 2 or 3 years before he could absorb a tenth of this flame vein. No, I can't wait that long. Determination flashed in Xiaochen's eyes. Then, he stood up and looked at the flame vein, entering deep thought. The flame vein surged and surged non-stop. Where was it heading? Are the other flame veins also surging endlessly, gathering in the same direction? If I can find the location where these flame veins gather, I can save a lot of effort. However, just this one flame vein was somewhat unbearable. How horrifying would the location where 18 flame veins gathered be? Go for it. After hesitating for only a second, Xiaochen made up his mind. He leaped up and withdrew the Universe Origin True Flame's origin flame into his body, then jumped into the flame vein. Whoosh! The flame vein surged at least 10 times faster than Xiaochen's movement technique. Amid the surging flame, Xiaochen used his veritable essence energy to fully activate the alloy battle armor, allowing himself to avoid being swallowed up by the flame vein. That was close. Fortunately, my alloy battle armor has reached 2-star. Otherwise, I would not have been able to endure it. Using the alloy battle armor, Xiaochen barely managed to endure the flame vein's torrent. Then, he heaved a sigh of relief. All that remained was to follow the flow of the flame vein and enter the place where the 18 flame veins gathered. As time passed, Xiaochen found it increasingly unbearable. Even with the alloy battle armor protecting him, he could not withstand it. Even with the alloy battle armor, his physical body was already bright red, looking like it was about to be cooked. Xiaochen knew that he was getting closer to the other flame veins. The greatest challenge would be when the other flame veins gathered. The 18 flame veins were split into yin and yang. 9 were extreme yin and 9 were extreme yang. They crisscrossed, appearing complicated and ever-changing. Master, your alloy battle armor seems to be softening, the demon blood vulture's voice rang out in Xiaochen's mind. When he looked carefully, he saw that the alloy battle armor was indeed slowly softening. Such a discovery immediately flustered Xiaochen. This was the alloy battle armor's self-protection method. If the alloy battle armor could not endure it in the end, it would liquefy and flow back into the gloves. At that time, Xiaochen would be in big trouble. What should I do? Without the protection of the alloy battle armor, I will melt in less than 7 minutes in this flame vein. Even if the acquired divine body awakened once, it was still a body of flesh and blood. Unless one was a true pure-blooded true dragon, one would not be able to endure such heat waves. The rate at which the alloy battle armor softened suddenly increased. This startled Xiaochen. Oh no! I'm about to reach the place where the 18 flame veins gather. It's over. I'm going to die in this damn place. The alloy battle armor softened into a silver liquid and slowly flowed back into the gloves. However, Xiaochen still headed for the flame veins involuntarily. The 18 flame veins that swept through the entire ice-fire wasteland gathered here. Just one flame vein was already somewhat unbearable for Xiaochen. Now, he was at the place where the 18 flame veins gathered and had lost the protection of the alloy battle armor. How could he survive? With this thought, Xiaochen felt that his life would end here. His physical body grew hotter. Xiaochen's consciousness turned blurry from the roasting, and his breathing became weak. In his daze, Xiaochen's physical body sank continuously. Suddenly, a loud sound rang out. Xiaochen understood that the 18 flame veins had completely gathered together. Then, he fainted. In his daze, Xiaochen opened his eyes and discovered that he was at the bottom of a lake. His physical body was swimming slowly. I'm not dead. 9 flame veins were about to roast me to death. To think that 18 flame veins gathered and did not kill me on the spot. As far as the eye could see, it was actually a clear lake. Am I dead or alive? Why am I hallucinating? The place where the 18 flame veins gathered is actually a lake. Chapter 2140. Illusion or reality? The ice-fire wasteland, where the 18 flame veins gathered, was actually a clear lake. The light and shadow were mottled, and the lake water was distorted. It was both a dream and an illusion. Xiao Chen was bewildered. For a moment, he didn't know whether he was dead or alive. Feeling confused, Xiao Chen suddenly discovered that the little demonic qi veritable essence energy and spiritual energy veritable essence energy in his body were circulating on their own, forming a weak taiji force field around him. A taiji diagram even appeared under his feet. He didn't die. Xiao Chen was sure that he wasn't dead. Everything he saw was real and not an illusion. Slowly calming down, Zhang Xian looked around and fell into deep thought. This lake is not water in the ordinary sense, Xiao Chen suddenly understood. 9 flame veins were extreme yin, and 9 flame veins were extreme yang. The place where yin and yang met was actually a stretch of primal chaos. In reality, it contained chaotic force, making it extremely dangerous. If an ordinary person tried to sneak in recklessly, they would definitely die. His yin and yang would definitely be reversed, and he would not be able to control everything about his body. In the best-case scenario, he would suffer from cultivation deviation. In the worst-case scenario, he would die within the chaotic flame vein. The only reason he could survive was because of the taiji force field. Xiao Chen separated the flame veins, which were in a state of primal chaos, into yin and yang. Then, he found a place where the 18 flame veins gathered. I see. Xiao Chen had a look of realization. The scene before him was an eye-opener. When the 18 flame veins gathered, the primal chaos it produced was actually clear lake water. No one else would be able to imagine this, let alone enjoy the scenery as calmly as he did. Danger lurked everywhere in the primal chaos. One option was to forcefully break through and reach the faux god realm. Otherwise, only Xiao Chen could do it, breaking through force with skill and separating yin and yang, balancing the 9 extreme yin flame veins and 9 extreme yang flame veins. Good chance. Here, I can cultivate the universe origin true flame and the heavenly snow divine flame at the same time. Moreover, I can comprehend the Tao here and increase my cultivation. It's equivalent to killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Xiao Chen calmly analyzed in his heart. One who survives a great disaster is bound to have good fortune later on. Swoosh! He sat cross-legged and placed his hands on his knees, palms facing the sky. In the next moment, the heavenly snow divine flame's origin flame in his left hand burned, and the universe origin true flame's origin flame appeared in his right hand. The 2 primal chaos-grade flames began to absorb the yin-attributed and yang-attributed flames in the lake at the same time. The Tai Chi diagram beneath them gradually became clearer. As the flame in Xiao Chen's palm grew stronger, the Taiji diagram beneath him gave off a faint light that looked solid. Xiao Chen closed his eyes. At some point in time, 2 balls of origin source appeared in his palm. As if it had come to life, it swam down agilely like a fish. The flame veins chased each other in the water, forming an even more realistic taiji force field that frenziedly absorbed the flame veins' essence. After an unknown period of time, sparks appeared at the bottom of the clear lake. These sparks were like stars shining at the bottom of the water. When it saw Xiao Chen, it swam toward him like a moth flying into a flame. They were densely packed and layered upon one another. Xiao Chen was completely unaware that he was comprehending the Tao at the bottom of the lake and had sunk into a rather profound state. All the injuries on his body had recovered, and his condition was like that of a baby in his mother's womb. It was indescribably mysterious. The ice-fire wasteland was divided into the periphery, the inner area, and the core. The periphery occupied half of the area. Previously, Xiao Chen had been hunting mastiffs in the periphery. People called him the dog-killing mad demon, one of the tyrants of the periphery. The inner area of the ice-fire wasteland was a mysterious frost forest. Many ice crystals wrapped in silver grew there. These ice crystals looked like crystals, transparent and crystalline. Their entire bodies were covered in white snow, giving them an ancient and heavy feel. Every tree was at least 10,000 years old. Many crafty and strong foe beasts lived in them. Half-step sovereign emperor experts or other sovereign personages who dared to take risks would come here for experiential training. Experiential training here was much more dangerous than in the periphery. One could die at any moment. Although the inner area was dangerous, most people understood it or had occasionally gone in for experiential training. However, the core of the ice-fire wasteland was extremely mysterious. Many people did not even know what the core looked like. Only the true experts among sovereign personages dared to venture deep into the core and take the risk. On this day, a group of people arrived at the periphery of the ice-fire wasteland's core. These were the Universe Origin sect disciples who mocked Shao Chen for killing dogs back then. All of them had extraordinary appearances, standing out from the crowd. The leader, Feng Xiaobai, looked the most elegant. "Senior brother Feng, we have arrived." This group of people exuded strong killing qi. Clearly, they had experienced many dangerous battles here. Feng Xiaobai remained silent as he looked to the front. A vast and boundless sea of fire lay before him. Outsiders would not be able to imagine that the center of this continent made of ice was actually an extremely horrifying sea of fire. The sea of fire surged, alternating between hot and cold, looking extremely strange. The surging heat materialized many mysterious phenomena. Just a wave surging over was equivalent to a peak strike from a half-step sovereign emperor. However, this was not the most terrifying thing. The scariest thing was that the sea of fire had yet to separate yin and yang. It was filled with primal chaos, unfathomable and impossible to deal with. Feng Xiaobai showed an extremely cautious expression as he faced this sea of fire. Needless to say, the other disciples were even more cautious. Most of the Universe Origin sect disciples were skilled with the Fire Dao. Many of them even comprehended the Fire Dao domain. But it was useless. In this sea of flames, yin and yang had yet to be separated, and everything was chaotic. The slightest carelessness would cause one to burn while playing with fire. Thus, they had to be even more careful than those who were not proficient in the Tao of fire. It looks like the people of the profound Heaven Holy Land, the Hidden Spirit Temple, and the Bushan Palace are one step ahead of us. After looking around, Feng Xiaobai muttered to himself as he looked at the sea of fire. "Senior martial brother, don't worry. The ice-fire divine origin won't be born anytime soon. It's useless even if they go." Feng Xiaobai said softly, "I'm not worried about that. I'm just afraid that these people will work together in advance." "Never mind. Let's take out the yin-yang flame parrying pearl and enter as well." At this moment, Feng Xiaobai thought of having the alloy battle armor again. The group of people took out their fire-repelling pearls and placed them in their mouths. Immediately, a bright and dark-colored enchantment appeared around them. So. With the yin-yang fire parrying pearl, the few of them were able to step into the sea of fire without worry. Otherwise, staying in there for too long would be suicide. It was the same for the other super forces. They all had similar secret treasures. Otherwise, in this sea of fire, not to mention preserving one's strength, even surviving would be a problem. As the sea of fire surged, the group advanced cautiously. Although there was no rush to obtain the ice-fire divine origin, the other three super factions had already taken the lead. They could not delay any longer. Feng Xiaobai's strength was outstanding, so he led the way. Occasionally, huge waves surged over. The surging flames looked horrifying, looking like they would swallow up the world. They were like the ferocious maw of a huge void beast. Bang! Every time a fierce wave surged over, Feng Xiaobai did not dodge. He simply threw a palm strike with a cold expression. The originally gentle, elegant, and handsome Feng Xiaobai seemed like a completely different person when he attacked. He was like a wild beast, his aura bursting out as he threw a palm strike. The palm wind containing the Tao roared ferociously, erupting with thousands of light images. The light images were like swords, as resplendent as the sun. They forcefully split the fierce waves, not dodging at all. Senior brother, junior brother Lu can't hold on any longer. When Feng Xiaobai looked back, he saw that a disciple had accidentally cracked his fire-parrying pearl. When the primal chaos flames invaded the disciple, he immediately found it extremely unbearable, unable to advance or retreat. Feng Xiaobai only glanced at the disciple before saying indifferently, "End your own life." That disciple immediately showed an anxious expression. "Senior brother, save me. You got careless, and you want me to save you? If I save you now, how are you going to fight the others when we reach Flame Island?" Feng Xiaobai did not have any intention of saving that disciple. He said indifferently, "If you are not following, then just accompany him." The others immediately felt very anxious. They ignored their companion, whose fire-parrying pearl had been broken, and quickly followed Feng Xiaobai. "Senior brother. Senior brother." That person's voice sounded very shrill, flustering the others. However, Feng Xiaobai's expression did not change at all. These people risked following him because they wanted to obtain the ice-fire divine origin and obtain the corresponding benefits. Since that was the case, they should know to bear the risks themselves. After half a day, Feng Xiaobai used another palm strike to split the fierce waves. The indistinct figures of some people appeared at the limits of his vision amid the heat waves. "We are almost there." Feng Xiaobai put in more effort and increased his speed. Afterimages appeared behind him. The afterimages were like fire, burning fiercely like intense flames. Soon, the scene at the limits of his vision appeared before Feng Xiaobai. Many average-sized islands appeared in front. When he counted them, there were 18 of them. Technically, it would be more appropriate to call them submerged reefs. This was because these islands only had a radius of 100 meters. The smaller ones were only 10 meters wide. However, these submerged reefs were very important to these people. Yin and yang were everywhere in the primal chaos flame sea. There was no pattern to it. It would be extreme yin at one moment and extreme yang at another, making it exceptionally uncomfortable. Only the submerged reefs had fixed yin and yang, either extreme yin or extreme yang. Only by stepping on the submerged reefs could one truly gain a foothold. At this moment, many people occupied the various islands. When these people saw Feng Xiaobai appear, their expressions changed at the same time. In the faux god world, reaching sovereign emperor meant that one's cultivation had reached perfection, and one needed to leave. After the many old people left, Feng Xiaobai could be said to be the leader of the Universe Origin Sects group. Everyone had experienced Feng Xiaobai's strength long ago. His ruthlessness inspired fear. After Feng Xiaobai stood still, he casually glanced around, and his face immediately sank. Whoosh! The other Universe Origin Sect disciples behind Feng Xiaobai slowly caught up. When they saw this, they immediately cursed. 18 submerged reefs of various sizes were occupied. The people of the Profound Heaven Holy Land, Bushan Palace, and the Hidden Spirit Temple occupied all 18 submerged reefs, not leaving a single one for the Universe Origin Sect. Indeed, these people had reached an agreement in advance. The thing that Xiaochun worried about the most happened. Feng Xiaobai showed a cold expression as he gently flung his sleeves. He said, "Everyone, are you going to give up some islands on your own initiative, or do you want this Feng to make a move and start a massacre?" Chapter 2141. Will everyone take the initiative to give up some islands, or will this Feng make a move and start a massacre? Feng Xiaobai's words sounded very threatening. At this moment, the three clans each occupied 6 of the 18 submerged reefs. They had rested for many days, building up their strength. Compared to the travel-worn Feng Xiaobai and the others, who rushed over, they were in much better condition. In reality, even if Feng Xiaobai and the others were in perfect condition, the leaders of the other 3 clans would not fear them. However, this Feng Xiaobai was a ruthless person. When he attacked, he did not hold back. Once Feng Xiaobai set his sights on someone, he would fight to the death. He was as difficult to deal with as a madman, giving others a headache. Aside from Feng Xiaobai, the others also saw that the Universe Origin Sect had sent several experts. The two people beside Feng Xiaobai were the top 10 universe origin sect disciples in the faux god world. They were half-step sovereign emperors. Their Tao domains merged with their souls and formed divine seals. The rest were heaven-defying sovereign personages. Without exception, they were all elites. With the three clans working together, they could suppress the other side. However, if a fight broke out, it would be problematic. Someone might even die. The leaders of the profound Heaven Holy Land, Bushin Palace, and the Hidden Spirit Temple discussed with each other and gave up 3 islands. When Feng Xiaobai saw the situation, he snorted coldly and did not say anything more. Obtaining 3 islands was already pretty good. After all, his side had arrived late, so he could not blame others. If a fight really broke out, aside from Feng Xiaobai and his 2 half-step sovereign emperor junior brothers, the others would not have a good ending. With the 3 clans working together, they could crush them. Everyone, get on the island and recover your strength first. Whoosh! After Feng Xiaobai and the others landed on the island, they immediately took out the yin-yang fire-parting pearls. Then, they sat down cross-legged and quickly recovered the veritable essence energy they exhausted along the way. At the same time, they warily watched the other 3 clans. 2 people stood side by side on the largest island occupied by the Bushin Palace. One person wore fluttering white robes and had a scarlet mark on his forehead, giving off a cold and sinister aura. The other person wore azure and showed off his sharpness, appearing unruly and unruly. One of these 2 was Bai Yunfei, the White Marsh Beast Empire's by clan young master. The other was the Hound Lion Empire's crown prince, Xiahou. Speaking of which, it was quite a coincidence. The 2 of them had some grudges with Xiao Chen, and they both appeared in the Void God realm. Xiahou looked at Feng Xiaobai, and a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. He said sullenly, "This Feng Xiaobai is really arrogant and despotic. He is not a royal court disciple of the Tianwu dynasty, yet he dares to be so unbridled before us." Bai Yunfei said indifferently, "Although he is not a member of the royal family, the Feng clan of the Tianwu dynasty is the head of the 4 great clans. Currently, the clan head is conferred the title of Prince Jin. More importantly, the Feng family's position in the primordial sect is firm. Their patriarch is one of the 8 flame protectors of the primordial sect. His status is not much lower than that of the royal family's disciples. Compared to the 2 of us." Xiahou said disdainfully. Bai Yunfei said after some thought, "It's hard to say. The crucial thing is that the other 2 clans might not be on the same side as us. That Mu Yunzhu is not someone to offend. If we fight rashly and he sneak attacks us, all our efforts will be for naught. That Baldi Yuan Zhen is not someone to be trifled with." The leaders of the 4 super forces were all scheming people. They did not trust each other too much. Everyone came for the Ice-Fire Divine Origin. However, there was only one Ice-Fire Divine Origin. At that time, they would definitely fight over it. Of the 18 submerged reefs, 9 were extreme yin and 9 extreme yang, forming a circle in the vast flame sea. This place was the core of the entire Ice-Fire wasteland. The Ice-Fire Divine Origin was born here. Senior Brother Mu. What exactly is this Ice-Fire Divine Origin? A disciple on the profound Heaven Holy Land submerged reef asked Mu Yunzhu. Mu Yunzhu looked around and replied softly, "The Ice-Fire Divine Origin is similar to the origin liquid we exchanged for in the Holy Domain's divine capital. However, it is of a much higher grade. It can be said to be the embodiment of the entire Ice-Fire Wasteland's essence. It is born only once every 3 years. Compared to ordinary origin liquid, its quality is 10 times, even 100 times, or even 1,000 times higher. More importantly, origin liquid does not have an attribute. However, this Ice-Fire Divine Origin contains an attribute. If you cultivate one of the great Tao in it, the wondrous effects you will obtain are simply indescribable. There was once a person who instantly broke through the bottleneck of his Tao domain after refining one of the divine origin. That was equivalent to 10 years of bitter cultivation. Do you think it is precious or not? Furthermore, it comes from the same source as ice and fire. When two completely contradictory attributes are combined, it is something worth studying in the first place. Even if you do not use it, you can sell it to a faux god expert and obtain boundless benefits. The person who asked the question immediately felt an irrepressible desire. Unexpectedly, the ice-fire divine origin was such a wondrous item with a startling value. If it were not startling, it would not have attracted the experts of the four super factions. Mu Yunzhu remained rather calm. He said seriously, "Don't overthink. The people from the Universe Origin sect, Bushin Palace, and the Hidden Spirit Temple are not easy to deal with. It is hard to say whether they can obtain the ice-fire divine origin or not." As Mu Yunzhu spoke, he glanced at Bai Yunfei, deep fear flashing in his eyes. If Feng Xiaobai was a mad dog that no one dared to offend, then this Bai Yunfei was a venomous snake. Even sovereign emperors feared his thousand-taste red. The poison could penetrate deep into the soul. If one was not careful, one would be consigned to eternal damnation. Then, Mu Yunzhu looked at the Hidden Spirit Temple's monks. All of them looked benevolent. However, he knew that they were not kind people. In this vast flame sea, the monks who cultivated the Buddhist sect's indestructible iron body had the greatest advantage in terms of their physical bodies. The leaders of the four factions all harbored strange thoughts. They all feared each other, thinking of how to snatch the ice-fire divine origin that was about to appear. Rumble. Suddenly, the 18 submerged reefs started shaking. 18 pillars of fire soared into the sky from the surrounding sea of fire. The fiery light was as dazzling as mercury. After they soared into the sky, they spread out like fireworks. The sky immediately looked very beautiful, like thousands of flowers blooming. Feng Xiaobai, Xiahou Zun, Mu Yunzhu, and the Hidden Spirit Temple's Yuanzhen all showed joy on their faces. Then, they turned extremely grave. After waiting for 10 days, this sunny day has finally arrived. The Hidden Spirit Temple's Yuanzhen said softly as he looked at the beautiful sky. A sunny day was a sign of the ice-fire divine origin's birth. With a sunny day, the ice-fire divine origin would not be far from appearing. Everyone, be careful. If the flames that fall later are not small, you might lose your life. In the Great Thousand Realms, anyone who was overly beautiful would avoid it. This sunny day was no exception. Whoosh! 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 As the fireworks fell, the disciples of the four super factions started executing their various means, either dodging or forcibly scattering the falling fireworks. A loud sound immediately erupted. An inconspicuous wisp of flame suddenly appeared. The seemingly unremarkable clump of flames actually rivaled the peak strike of a half-step sovereign emperor. Some of them even surpassed it. Of the four super factions, the Hidden Spirit Temple's monks were the most relaxed. These monks all cultivated the Buddhist sect's indestructible iron body cultivation technique. The advantage of their physical bodies was evident. They could even endure this flame head-on without much problem. Whoosh! The fireworks slowly scattered, and gurgling sounds came from the center of the 18 submerged reefs. Closely following that, a beam of light soared into the sky and scattered the sunny day. "It's coming," Feng Xiaobai said after some thought, raising his guard to the highest. The ice-fire divine origin was about to be born. At this moment, no one could remain calm. The surrounding disciples all showed grave expressions. Their auras had already started clashing in secret, causing the flame sea to surge and roar. Waves surged up and down, rising and falling. All sorts of terrifying mysterious phenomena appeared in the surroundings. However, the group remained unmoved, showing calm expressions. Even when the flame waves surged over like ferocious beasts, they did not move at all, only staring at the sea region where the pillar of light was. It seemed like something was slowly rising in the flaming sea region, bathed in the golden pillar of light. Soon, this item charged out of the flame sea, revealing a corner. It was a budding lotus flower. The two-colored flames and leaves were wrapped together in layers, flickering with two-colored flowing lights, attracting people's wild and fanciful thoughts. To think that there are 360 lotus leaves. The ice fire divine origin that is born this time is probably the most in the past 1,000 years. The previous time the ice fire divine origin was born, there were less than 100 lotus leaves. That was already very rare. This time, there are 360 lotus leaves. This is probably the limit of what the ice fire wasteland can produce. There is nothing stronger than this. After seeing the number of lotus leaves, Mu Yunzhu and the others became utterly excited, their hearts thumping wildly. Their eyes flickered with a fiery light, filled with desire. The universe origin sex Feng Xiaobai thought coldly, to think that it is the most in the past 1,000 years. I have to obtain this ice fire divine origin. After obtaining the fire divine origin, my universe origin true flame will definitely advance from rank 6 to rank 7. While Feng Xiaobai thought this, the others were thinking the same. After going through so much trouble to come to this dangerous flame sea, they actually found the best ice fire divine origin in the past 1,000 years. No one was willing to hand it over. Everyone was determined to obtain it. The lotus petals fell off one by one, and the ice fire divine origin was about to reveal itself. Everyone held their breath at this moment. However, when all the lotus petals fell off, a person sat cross-legged on a lotus platform amid the bright light. Feng Xiaobai swallowed back the words, attack, that he was about to say, completely flabbergasted. What the heck? Where is the ice fire divine origin? It was not just Feng Xiaobai. Anyone who saw a person sitting on the lotus that gave birth to the divine origin would be flabbergasted, their brains short-circuiting. Chapter 2142. What's going on? Based on the pattern of the past, shouldn't the ice fire divine origin appear when the lotus flower bloomed? Why is there a person? Everyone was stunned. They could not understand what was going on. Where's the ice fire divine origin? Who can tell me what's going on? Heavens! Why is there a person living in the lotus flower? This feeling was driving them crazy. Originally, there were 360 lotus petals. The ice fire divine origin that blossomed should have been the greatest in the past 1,000 years. Feng Xiaobai and the others were already incredibly excited, waiting for the moment the lotus flower bloomed to take action. However, that was not the case at all. Their moods immediately changed. Senior brother Feng, he is the dog-killing mad demon, the Heavenly Alliance's Xiao Chen. Someone beside Feng Xiaobai shouted as he pointed at Xiao Chen after recognizing him. Bai Yunfei and Xiahou Zun exchanged glances. The two knew that Xiao Chen had joined the Heavenly Alliance and that he was in the Holy Domain's divine capital. However, they did not care about him. After more than a year, Xiao Chen had vanished without a trace. No one cared about breaking the Trial Tower's record. Why is this fellow here? Xiahou Zun asked, feeling suspicious. Of course, Bai Yunfei could not explain it. No matter how hard he thought, he could not figure out how Xiao Chen came out of the lotus flower. We just need to capture him and ask him clearly, Bai Yunfei said indifferently. Back then, when Xiao Chen escaped from his hands in Cloudwater Marsh, he had embarrassed himself before the Dragon God Crown Prince. Unexpectedly, they met again in such a manner. Xiahou Zun said indifferently, that's true. We just need to capture him and interrogate him. This way, we can settle old and new grudges together. On the lotus platform, Xiao Chen opened his eyes, feeling warm all over. As he looked around, his heart skipped a beat, filled with doubt and confusion. He had been cultivating and comprehending the Tao in the water, refining the universe origin true flame and the heavenly snow divine flame at the same time. He found it boundlessly profound, forgetting about everything else. The moment he opened his eyes, he found himself in this place. He could not understand it. Xiao Chen felt very warm and comfortable. Just as he was about to take a closer look, he suddenly heard the sound of wind. It was Xia Hozuan making the first move. Xiao Chen ruthlessly threw a palm strike at Xiao Chen. This palm was boundlessly domineering and contained a powerful aura of the Great Path. Its body was supported by the might of the Great Path, and it was as heavy as a mountain and indestructible. The seemingly ordinary palm strike had, in fact, already unleashed its greatest power in a situation where it was caught off guard. Xiaochen opened his eyes and did not understand what was going on. He reflexively threw a palm strike. Boom! A taiji diagram appeared under the lotus platform. When the two palms clashed, a taiji diagram appeared. Catching Xia Hozuan off guard, Xia Hozuan, who was charging over, was immediately blown away. On, Xiao Xiao on, he, Xiao Chen, on, Tian. True, Xiao, on, Xiao on, Xiao on, fire, true, on, Xiao, is, Xiao on, he, this stunned Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen, who had just advanced from great perfection sovereign personage to peak sovereign personage, immediately reached peak consummation. Xiao Chen's cultivation reached consummation as a sovereign personage. This was completely unexpected. Xiao Chen estimated that even in the faux god world, he would need to cultivate for 1 or 2 years before he could truly reach consummation. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen had just broken through to great perfection sovereign personage before he closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes, he reached consummation. Xiao Chen had an acquired divine body, a great desolate Ian bloodline, and cultivated the purple thunder divine incantation. Along the way to sovereign personage, Xiao Chen had accumulated a lot of accumulations. Once he reached consummation, his strength would increase by leaps and bounds. Xiao Chen's expression did not change as he looked around again. Not to mention the others' expressions of wanting to swallow him up. Just Bai Yunfei, Xia Hozun, and Mu Yunzhu, these 3 old acquaintances, would be more than enough to deal with. Although Xiao Chen did not understand what happened, since these 3 were here, there was no room for him to maneuver. When Xia Hozun landed, he looked at Xiao Chen with some shock. The ice-fire divine origin. He must have refined the ice-fire divine origin. Where did the ice-fire divine origin go? Be honest, Feng Xiaobai shouted as he looked coldly at Xiao Chen. The murderous qi he exuded was somewhat terrifying. Mahamaya abstinence violation technique, Buddha in the mortal realm. However, before Feng Xiaobai finished speaking, a Buddhist swastika appeared on Xiao Chen's forehead, and a supreme killing Buddha descended from the sky. Bang! The instant the killing Buddha descended, it kicked up an overwhelming wave before it even attacked. The surging flame waves surged out in all directions. Immediately, the cultivators on the submerged reef had no choice but to dodge. Boom! When the killing Buddha made its move, the sea region turned completely chaotic. The surrounding cultivators were thrown into disarray. Xiao Chen took advantage of the chaos to stand up. As he hovered in the air, he turned his head to look at the lotus platform. After thinking for a while, he waved his right hand and placed the lotus platform in his storage ring. Divine Firmament 9 changes, traceless lightning shadow. Leaving behind a faint purple mark, Xiao Chen leaped out of the encirclement and headed to the front. When everything calmed down, Feng Xiaobai and the others were in somewhat sorry states. They all showed rage on their faces. To think that this Xiao Chen dared to take the initiative to attack them. Xiao Chen was truly bold, seeking death for himself. Where is he? When everyone looked carefully, they discovered that Xiao Chen's figure had vanished. He was no longer where he had been. The expression of the hidden spirit temple's Yuanjin changed slightly. The lotus platform was gone. In reality, this group of hidden spirit temple disciples did not come for the ice-fire lotus platform but for the ice-fire lotus platform. However, now that the lotus platform was gone, they immediately felt flustered. He is there. He ran away. Someone shouted. When everyone looked back, they saw Xiao Chen quickly fleeing far away in the vast flame sea. After him. We absolutely cannot let him get away. If they let Xiao Chen escape from under their noses, they would be utterly embarrassed. If word of this got out, they would become a huge joke. Where is this place? Xiao Chen, who was quickly moving forward, frowned slightly. He did not get far in the vast flame sea, but he was startled. The flame sea did not differentiate between yin and yang. The extreme yin and extreme yang flowed without any pattern. There was no way to resist it. Xiaochen quickly activated the alloy battle armor. Fortunately, the softened alloy battle armor had already recovered. With a thought, the 2-star alloy battle armor instantly covered Xiaochen, blocking most of the heat wave. When the alloy battle armor covered his entire body, Xiaochen released his bated breath. However, his expression remained grave. None of the large group of people behind him were easy to deal with. There were at least 10 half-step sovereign emperors. This was especially so for Feng Xiaobai and the others. Even though Xiaochen's cultivation had improved significantly, he was not confident of victory. What exactly happened for this group of peak outstanding talents to gather here? Xiaochen felt somewhat confused. He could not figure out what was going on. Furthermore, the people behind him were hot on his heels, so he did not have time to think. Stay behind. A loud shout came from behind Xiaochen. It was Feng Xiaobai. He took the lead, chasing at the very front. Feng Xiaobai's shout contained the Tao. It sounded like spring thunder, resounding in Xiaochen's ears. Half-step sovereign emperor. This was a half-step sovereign emperor. The Tao domain merged with the soul to form a divine seal. With one roar, the sound waves could invade the soul and linger endlessly. When Xiaochen first met Mu Yunzhu on the comprehension platform, he suffered greatly at the other party's hands. However, Xiaochen was no longer the same as before. Naturally, he would not suffer from the same method twice. The moment the other party's voice rang out, dragon roars erupted from Xiaochen's body. A blue dragon circled him, and his hot-bloodedness surged. Roar! 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 Dragon roars rang out everywhere, and the sound waves clashed in the vast flame sea. A loud explosion that was louder than the previous one set off a huge wave that shook the heavens. The sun and moon shining together, mysterious phenomenon instantly appeared, allowing the light of the sun and the moon to enter Xiaochen's body. This series of moves was completed in an instant, allowing Xiaochen to block the other party's sound waves from entering his soul. However, this delay delayed Xiaochen for the blink of an eye. It was this blink of an eye that gave Feng Xiaobai an opportunity. Great gale force. Feng Xiaobai threw a palm strike. His wind Tao domain had already reached the second layer. This palm strike brought out its full might. This palm strike sent the surrounding 500,000 kilometers of the flame sea flying like a castle, looking very horrifying. Then, it shattered. The strong wind was like countless sharp blades slicing through it, extinguishing all the flames for 500,000 kilometers. Before Xiaochen, who was in the middle of the flames, could react, he got knocked into the air along with the flames. The strong wind was like a knife, extinguishing the flames and blowing them away, exposing Xiaochen in the air. Dang! 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 Countless strong winds struck the alloy battle armor, producing tinkling sounds. When the strong winds scattered, blood leaked out of a corner of Xiaochen's lips. As Xiaochen watched Feng Xiaobai arrive with the wind, the others chased closely behind him. With this delay, they would probably catch up. The Faux God realm is indeed a land of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Xiaochen said calmly as he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. If not for the alloy battle armor blocking most of the power of that palm, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Kneel down and beg for mercy. Seeing that his killing move injured Xiaochen, Feng Xiaobai shouted coldly and descended from the sky, sending another palm strike at Xiaochen. When Xiaochen saw this, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly and he couldn't help but reveal a cold smile. Did this fellow think that he had stopped because he no longer had a chance to retaliate? Such arrogance, it seems like this is all there is to it. In that case, I will take back my words. So-called geniuses were nothing more than this. Taiji was divided into yin and yang. Xiaochen gently pushed his palms to the left and right, and the Taiji force field spread out. Yin and Yang merged under his feet. A chaotic sea of fire instantly stabilized. Suddenly, the violent and chaotic sea of fire magically calmed down. As Feng Xiaobai charged over, his expression changed slightly. He felt that something was wrong. Why did it feel like someone was suppressing the energy of this sea of fire? Did you notice it? It's too late, explode. Xiaochen roared, and the Taiji force field instantly exploded. The violent sea of fire that had been forcibly separated burst out with an even more violent momentum as Xiaochen's palm strike. Chapter 2143. Xiaochen used the Taiji Dao to forcefully suppress the primal chaos energy in the primal chaos flame sea. When Feng Xiaobai charged over, he released the force of his palm strike. The primal chaos flame sea, which had been suppressed for a long time, clashed with Feng Xiaobai's palm strike in an even more berserk manner. Puchi! Feng Xiaobai immediately vomited a mouthful of blood as he got knocked back. Cracks appeared in the Yin flame parrying pearl on his body. Without the fire-repelling pearl, it would be hard for him to keep his life in the chaos flame sea. So. Figures flickered, and Buddhist light broke through the waves. It was a group of disciples from the hidden spirit temple. While they were fighting, they caught up. This group of monks all cultivated the indestructible Vajra body. Xiaochen's physical body held a great advantage in this primal chaos flame sea. He unhurriedly followed after Feng Xiaobai. The group of monks had their palms clasped together. Buddhist light shone behind their heads, making them look holy and solemn. However, he didn't feel any pity for Xiaochen. He chased after him and landed next to Xiaochen. Without saying a word, he attacked. Every move was fierce and domineering, containing a great amount of strength. The fleshly body was as hard as a divine material. When Xiaochen's fist light landed on his opponent's body, a crisp metallic sound rang out. In the boundless sea of fire, Xiaochen fought and retreated without much fear. The 10,000 dragons picture appeared indistinctly behind Xiaochen. He used the Supreme Dragon Fist to clash head-on with the hidden spirit temple disciples. Dragon roars rang out, and countless dragon images leaped about in the sea of flames. From time to time, they would soar in the sky, and from time to time, they would dive to the bottom of the sea. The many hidden spirit temple disciples linked their fist lights together, spreading out a Buddhist light. The 8 tribes Heaven Dragon, the Buddha preaching, the Bodhi discussing the Tao. All sorts of Buddhist phenomena appeared one after another. Although these people's cultivation techniques were varied, they all came from Buddhism. When they attacked together, the phenomenon of Buddhism linked together, as if a pure land of gods and Buddhas had appeared. However, Xiaochen did not fall into a disadvantageous position under such pressure. He retreated as he fought, and he didn't panic in the slightest. Ouch! How can this person's physical body be stronger than ours? How could this be? Even at close range, you are still unable to instantly capture him. Although the expressions of the hidden spirit temple disciples did not change, they were already complaining in their hearts. In close combat, the group of people fought one after another. Relying on the advantage of the indestructible Vajra body, they wanted to directly suppress Xiaochen. But the result was the complete opposite. After exchanging a few punches, it was their bodies that couldn't take it anymore. Acquired divine body. A bright light flashed in the eyes of the hidden spirit temple's Yuan Zhen, who had not made a move all this while. Suddenly, he said, "Benefactor Xiao is really astonishing. To think that you managed to cultivate an acquired divine body. This is truly admirable. However, you're only one person in the end and won't be able to hold on for long. If you hand over the ice and fire lotus platform, we'll stop here." Xiaochen raised his eyebrows and smiled softly. "If not for me having some relationship with your hidden spirit temple, I would not have been so polite long ago. As long as I am in this primal chaos flame sea, I will be undefeatable. No matter how many people there are, so what? I did not seek trouble for you, but you wanted my lotus platform." Yuan Zhen felt slightly stunned. Naturally, he did not know about the matter between Xiao Chen and the little monk. However, Yuanjun recognized the Buddha in the mortal realm that Xiao Chen executed earlier. This was the Buddhist sect forbidden technique, the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique. Yuanjun could not help feeling suspicious. Could it be that he really has some relationship with my temple? Stop! Yuanjun shouted. The many hidden spirit temple disciples immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Upon hearing Yuanjun's command, they all stopped and retreated. When Xiao Chen saw the situation, he also heaved a sigh of relief. This group of monks was a tough nut to crack. If this continued, Xiao Chen would not have it easy. In the end, he would have to take out the Buddhist sect's golden letter to stop this group of people. You are really decisive. Xiao Chen glanced at Yuanjun and praised him. Then, he immediately moved far away. Senior brother, why did you make a move? Are you just going to let him go? The group of hidden spirit temple disciples looked at Yuanjun in confusion, finding this strange. Yuanjun said after some thought, the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique that this person executed is called in the mortal realm. It happens to be something that our temple has. If there is no connection, it is impossible to learn this saber technique. He does have Buddha nature, so it is really difficult to judge his identity. I will go back and ask my master. Whoosh! A figure quickly flew by. Yuanjun took a look and saw that it was the profound Heaven Holy Land's Mu Yunju. He could not help but think that even if he let Rang go, it would not be easy for him to walk out of this vast sea of fire. Not long after Xiao Chen left, Mu Yunju caught up to him and gave chase. Although Fang Xiaobai's group was slower than Fang Xiaobai and Yuanjun's group, they did not suffer any interference. He immediately pushed his movement technique to the limit and finally caught up. Half a year ago, you refused my challenge. I thought you were a coward. Now it seems that you are really good at enduring. Mu Yunju said seriously as a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Based on the strength that Xiao Chen displayed, it was clear that he could hold his own against Mu Yunju. This person's mental state was very calm. No matter what the ice-fire divine origin was, Mu Yunju could not let Xiao Chen leave this vast sea of fire to avoid a future problem. Xiao Chen, it has been a long time. Just as Xiao Chen prepared to fight, two figures appeared behind him. Bai Yunfei and Xiao Hozun actually surrounded him from behind. When Xiao Chen saw these two familiar people, he could not help frowning slightly. Today's calamity came out of nowhere. Things really bode ill for him in this vast sea of fire. Xiao Chen glanced at Bai Yunfei, and a murderous intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. He said indifferently, it has indeed been a long time. Back then, you nearly forced me into a corner in Cloudwater Marsh. At the mention of Cloudwater Marsh, Bai Yunfei could not help feeling angry. Back then, Xiao Chen turned around and scared him off. Bai Yunfei thought that he ran into a demonic Tao sovereign emperor. Now that he thought about it, it was simply a great humiliation. Humph. This time, let's see how you are going to play tricks on the vast sea of fire. Bai Yunfei held the bamboo flute in his hand. The scarlet orchid formed by the 3 scarlet marks on his forehead looked very alluring, but his expression was extremely cold. Xiao Hozun said indifferently, Xiao Chen, it is time to settle the score between us at the Peach Blossom Wine Festival. Xiao Chen mocked, the person who embarrassed you at the Peach Blossom Wine Festival was the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. What does that have to do with me? If you want to seek trouble for me, just say it. There is no need to make it sound so wronged. Mu Yunju, who was at the side, found this strange. He had not expected Bai Yunfei and Xiao Hozun to have such a grudge with Xiao Chen. These two were not people to be offended. One was the crown prince of the White Marsh Beast Empire, and the other was the crown prince of the Hound Lion Empire. They held noble statuses and illustrious statuses. Furthermore, their bloodlines were excellent. Their futures in the Bushin Palace were limitless. How lively! A figure said coldly as he slowly descended. It was Fang Xiaobai, who had repaired the yin-yang fire parting pearl. When Feng Xiaobai saw that the others were present, he said, "Everyone, be careful. This fellow has a strange cultivation technique that can suppress the primal chaos flame sea. By using the might of the primal chaos flame sea, even I nearly fell for his palm strike." The four experts surrounded Xiao Chen but did not make the first move. This was especially so for Feng Xiaobai. After he said that Xiao Chen grasped a special cultivation technique that could use the primal chaos flame sea, the four experts surrounded him. "Hand over the ice-fire divine origin. We can settle our grudges in the future." Bai Yunfei frowned slightly. With Mu Yunzhu and Feng Xiaobai around, he felt somewhat fearful. He could not kill Xiao Chen, lest others take advantage of him. "Sorry, I do not know what the ice-fire divine origin is. However, even if I knew, given my character, I would not give it to you." Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows. He caught the lack of confidence in Bai Yunfei's words. He could not help smiling coldly. "Even if you are not crown princes, you are still outstanding talents of your sections. Why is it that you do not dare to attack me at this moment?" "That's right. I still have not activated my great desolate Aeon bloodline. Furthermore, I am wearing the alloy battle armor. If we fight to the death, who can guarantee that they will not die? Since you don't have the heart to die, then get out of my way. I won't rest until I kill whoever blocks my way in this boundless sea of fire." Xiao Chen shouted, and his aura surged. With the alloy battle armor, his tyrannical aura appeared in full display. When Feng Xiaobai and the others heard that, their hearts skipped a beat. When they thought of the primal chaos flame sea, if Xiao Chen really targeted them and fought to the death, even if they killed Xiao Chen, they would end up dying in the flame sea. Xiao Chen laughed loudly and left, leaving the four looking at each other with awkward and conflicted expressions. Once a person became timid, it would be very difficult to muster their courage again. Before making a move, they would remember that this was the primal chaos flame sea. It was not easy to fight to the death with others here. Otherwise, even if they won, they would suffer severe injuries and fall in the flame sea. They would have 10,000 reasons to convince themselves not to make a move. Crown princes of empires and outstanding talents of sects are only so. Ha ha ha. As the four remained silent, they heard laughter in the distance, echoing endlessly in the vast flame sea.